Watch Dave the Film Junkie. He's just going to use his Mary Sue powers to talk about the Snyder Cut.
What's happening, guys? Hey, we made it. Oh, I'm here. Woo! Yeah. I'm late? How dare you say I'm late? Come on. I'm not late. I'm right on time. Unless you guys were going by the time that it originally showed up. My bad. Totally my bad. That was totally my bad when that happened. So yeah, when I originally set the time, or when I set up the whole stream and everything like that, I forgot to click and change the time because it auto fills in StreamYard. So I was like, oops. So my bad. But anyways, guys, what's going on? Stallone fan Jose is here. Jay, what's going on? Even a Mama Film Junkie is here. Yeah, I know. I'm missing the beard. You know, I'm telling you, I might go for Halloween. I might go, man. I got the shirt. All I need is just the red hair and the beard. You know, what's going on, hermano? Yo, what's going on, Will? What's going on, everybody? Release the Snyder Cut. Yes, Mama Film Junkie is definitely here. Yep. Oh, what? Oh, it was a couple seconds. Shut up. There's a delay. Yep. She's here. You got you guys. Did you guys get your shirt? Did you guys get your shirts? All right. Let's see. All right. Twitter or Twitch is up and running. Everything's good. We're all good. Yeah. All right. So yeah. Hopefully you guys get your Snyder Cut guy shirts. I got mine yesterday. So, you know, so I haven't washed it yet. You know, it's a little itchy. There you go. There we go, Nate. What's going on, Nate, over there in the Twitch? Dave the Pena. Vodka stream. Yeah, it should be a good one tonight for sure. Everything's up and running. But yeah, I apologize, guys. You know, when I set it up, it was funny because I did everything. I set it up. And then I just put it out there, and then I went to cook dinner. And then all of a sudden, I just came back to look, and I realized it was set for 7:15, and I was like, oh, shit. Totally forgot to change that. So I had to, as I was cooking dinner, I had to reset everything up. So I kind of burned my dinner. But anyways, it's Friday, guys. Yes, we've made it. Another week. It's been crazy. But hopefully tonight we can have some fun and not really, talk about all that stuff and everything. Yeah, let's just have a drink or two or three or five, whatever the hell. But cheers, guys. Yes, Rodrigo, the shirt is a little itchy. I'm not gonna lie. It's not the quality of the shirt not as good as the actual Zack Snyder's Justice League shirt. That one was top notch. The thread count was probably good. This is a little itchy, but you know what? I don't really care because it was all for charity. It's a charity shirt, so the money that is raised from those shirt sales go to a good cause. That's all that matters. So yeah, it's a little itchy. So if you see me kind of squirmy during tonight's stream, you know why. You'll know why. Because maybe it's just a little bit itchy. Not too bad. But yeah, cheers, guys. It's Friday, but my Tuesday. It's your Tuesday. Apple pie moonshine stream? Special K? Really? I mean, apple pie is delicious, but moonshine? I don't think I could last too long. I don't think it does it smell like vinegar, Scott? Yeah, sometimes these shirts do smell a little. When they come through, yeah, they do smell like vinegar sometimes. But this one, not so much. No, it actually doesn't smell like vinegar for once. But I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes when you open up that plastic and it just hits you in the face. Yeah, that vinegar-like smell. Is New Gods coming out? Not New Gods, New Mutants? Duh. Sorry. I don't know. Who knows what the hell's going on with that? Itchy, when exactly, just like when Clark was dead. Okay, see that one I could do. Dave Stone Cold beer stream. I could do that one, but maybe what we have? Yeah, what we having tonight? I got vodka, of course. I don't know what you guys are drinking, but I'm drinking some vodka, as always. So yeah. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Happy Superman Day, by the way. It is Superman Day. So hopefully, maybe. I mean, I hope you guys are actually waiting till tomorrow, because obviously I'm going to bring this up right meow. Is right here. Speaking of Superman Day, we got the Man of Steel live stream charity watch party that's happening tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 10 p.m. in London, 11 p.m. in Europe. So it's all right there. Hopefully you guys are going to do that and watch all that and donate. I'm going to donate because I'm not going to be able to watch it because I'm going to my nephew's graduation party tomorrow. So I won't be able to partake in the watch. But wait a minute. This is the 14th. What am I thinking? This is on Sunday. Never mind. I am off. This says it's on June 14th. I thought it was tomorrow. No, it's on Sunday because today is, I thought it was tomorrow for some reason. Wait a minute. Okay. I'm kind of confused, but okay. But yeah, no, it's on the 14th. Never mind. I guess I will partake. Yeah, the 14th. I was thinking that it was actually, yeah. Oh yeah. Bring that up too, but I thought it was tomorrow for some reason, but no, it's actually on Sunday. So there you go. I will be able to partake in that. Never mind. I'm all mixed up on my days, guys. It's all just, yeah, they all just run together now, don't they? And yes, rest in peace, Mr. Denny O'Neil. Cheers to him. Legendary, iconic comic book writer. He's written some of the greats, a lot of Batman, some Green Lantern and stuff. So cheers to Mr. Denny O'Neil. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that. I told you I was going to do that. I was going to do a cheers, and thank you for reminding me. So cheers to Mr. O'Neil. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. See, yeah. So that's not me though. I wasn't the one. Oh yeah. Sorry. I should have taken that off. But yeah, your clock is wrong. Okay. I know. For some reason, I thought it was tomorrow. I thought it was. That's weird. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was on Saturday. It was tomorrow, but no. Apparently 14th. It's on Sunday. Unless something weird is happening with time zones and whatnot. What's going on, Symfinity? What's going on, Mr. Eric? Yeah, rest in peace to him. Yeah, scatterbrainedness definitely runs in the family. Listen to my mom. It definitely does. But your son is nice. What's going on, Symfinity? Sounds like you're already having a pretty good time right now. So, but yeah, okay. Well, that's good. I'll be able to partake in the watch then, because I thought it was tomorrow. I was like, what the fuck? Okay. Yeah, the 14th is, yeah, that's of course the Man of Steel anniversary, but I don't know why I just had it in my head that it was tomorrow. And all right, now I'm happy. Now I can partake. Thank you, Steven. Thank you. Yeah, tomorrow is definitely the 13th. This fucking guy over here, you know? Yep. There it was. There's the date of Man of Steel right there. But yes, rest in peace, Denny. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Mr. Chris Wong Swenson. Yes. Like I said, I'm an angry fanboy now, guys. I'm an angry fanboy. I'm going to say some really angry things about the Harley Quinn show and stuff right now. I feel it. When you put on the shirt, you feel it. You feel that angry fanboy coming out, where you just talk about Mary Sue Powers and, the agenda to the feminist agenda. That's right. That's what I'm feeling right now. So what's going on, Ryan? It's okay. You're not too late there, Tony. You're fine. Don't worry. Just got back from some park beverages with some friends. There you go. See? It's time to open everything back up. It's time to open everything back up, man. It really is time to do all that. I don't know about you guys. I mean, obviously you guys saw, I just posted a video about it. Which I think a lot of us will talk about. Well, I posted 2 videos tonight, which was first off the David Ayer stuff, which that continues on, which is great. I hope he continues and keeps on. Oop. Hold on a sec. And keeps on posting stuff like that. That was an interesting image that he posted on IG. Batman and Harley. Looking like they're having a moment. Boop. Okay. So, and then Jeez, you guys. Now Steven's joining the whole RIP thing. Oop, nope, not that. What was I gonna say? Anyways, yeah, Warner Brothers pushed all their big movies, pretty much all their movies, later on. I mean, now we're gonna get Wonder Woman 1984, October 2nd, which is the day after my birthday. That's fine. Cool, happy birthday to me. And then of course with everything else that was delayed. Tenet is the one that's just like holding strong. Still going to show up in July. It probably won't. I just don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening, but you never know. You never know. You really never know. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just with everything that's happening. I do like the concept that they're going with showing Inception, in theaters first, and then having maybe some bonus stuff that has to do with Tenet or the Batman or the Suicide Squad, whatever. It's okay. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I just want the movie theaters to open again. I want to go, rest in peace, Betty Offwhite. You're funny. You're silly. I know. Yeah. Nolan is definitely pushing that. And I commend him for it. He really wants people to, enjoy his movie on the big screen. He really does. But I mean, his movie is already successful no matter what. I'm going to do a video about that and talk about all that and stuff. So, but no matter what, even if it gets a partial release out in theaters where it gets like a small box office, it's probably going to kick ass in video streaming. That's for damn sure. So I don't think he has really anything to worry about. He's just trying to keep the cinematic experience alive. That's all. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's really trying to do, I think. That's what Mr. Nolan wants to do. He wants to keep that cinematic experience alive. Whoa, Black Betty and a man home. Yeah, Steven, relax, Steven. You're gonna get canceled already. You're not even on the stream yet. Jeez, what's going on, George? How you doing? So, Disney's gonna re-release Endgame in theaters. Oh yeah, they probably will. But I mean, they're going to be re-releasing Inception. They're going to be re-releasing other various movies as well. So why not do it? Nothing wrong with that. Let them put out everything. They're going to be testing the waters. And that's the thing. They're going to be testing the waters to see how everything's going and everything. So, it's just to make sure that people are actually going to show up to the movie theaters. Because as far as I know, here in California, it's only going to be about, a quarter of capacity, 25%. So, I mean, it's something. It's definitely something. So, but at least I just want them to freaking open the damn movie theaters because I am ready to go see a movie again. I miss it. I'm having withdrawals, man. I definitely am. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I will definitely go watch Inception again. I'll definitely go. So, which movie do you want to be re-released? They should go hard, go old school, re-release Memento. Christopher Nolan's not his first movie, but his second movie. They really put him on the map. Re-release Memento. I want to see that on the big screen. I didn't get to see that on the big screen. And that's one of my all-time favorite movies, Memento. So, let's do that. Re-release that. I'm all for that. And if you guys haven't seen Memento, do yourselves a favor. Great fucking movie. That movie inspired me to write a screenplay that I try to convert into a novel. And one of these days, I'll finish that damn thing. Good thing that Sean O'Connell is gonna show up here. Maybe I'll give him some pointers on writing a book. Maybe I'll ask him that question. Because man, sometimes just to find time to write a book through my busy schedule, whoo. But then all of a sudden, yeah, I think some of these people are, to be honest, yeah. I think Nate's kind of talking about it. Warner Brothers is talking about getting rid of WB Games or whatever the hell. They're going to sell it. That's going to be interesting if that goes through. Yeah, Scott, Memento is such a great movie. Just the way that the story is told. I mean, it's so beautifully told. That's the thing. I mean, when I watched that movie, I was in awe. And The Prestige, too. I didn't get to see The Prestige in theaters. I didn't get to see Insomnia when it comes to Chris Nolan movies. I think Insomnia is like one of his weakest, probably because it wasn't exactly his movie, but I mean, it had a strong cast for sure. It had of course, Pacino and Williams, which is great. But anyways, guys, are you guys ready for the special guest tonight? I'm sure you guys are, and I'm sure you guys all are excited to see what he has to say and everything like that. So let's get him in here. Mr. Sean O'Connell, how you doing, sir?
My friend, my brother. Hello,
Hey.
Dave. Good to be with you.
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. How you doing over there?
I'm well. I'm jealous of your shirt. I ordered that, but mine hasn't come yet.
What can I say? I got special privileges, I guess. I don't know.
So, yeah.
I don't know. It was nice because I had somebody, I think it was actually Colbert, who showed that he got his shirt. So I was wondering when I got home yesterday if it was going to be right there in the mailbox, and sure enough, right there. It's a little itchy, but it's okay. I like it.
You know the right people, essentially.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yes.
You got fast tracked.
We gotta get Dave the shirt first, because he'll wear it on this Friday's vodka stream.
Yes, he has a vodka stream.
Exactly. Gotta do it. So I appreciate you coming on again. It's almost been 4 months to the day. I mean, man, time flies. I tell you what, because you came on the show, you came on the vodka stream, right? 214. Which was, yeah. So it's been almost 4 months. I know, right? It seems like it was like not even that long ago.
And what's happened since then?
No, not much. That's why I'm like, oh, this is going to be a short conversation. I don't think there's been much that's happening. No,
right.
There's been a lot that's happened. So, how is it going in your world with everything that's been happening in the last 4 months?
So I'm going to make an official announcement that this is the last show that I'm going to do for a while.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
You've been making the rounds. And
I need to disappear. Like I
saw you making the rounds, and I was like, last Friday I thought about asking you to come on there, but I knew you were like making the rounds. So I was like, you know what? Let me just wait a little bit, and then I'll wait till this Friday. And then I figured you were like kind of exhausted when it comes to doing all this stuff.
Well, first off, I'm sick of hearing myself. And secondly,
really, I don't know what that's like.
I'm tired of, I don't want to repeat myself that often.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to a point where anybody listening to any of the times that I show up on different places are like, oh, he said this already, or this isn't interesting anymore. So, but more importantly, I have until July 30th to finish this book. So now I need to really, because it was done.
Yeah.
It was, the manuscript was finished, and I was going through it line by line, just editing it. And then Zack was like, nope.
And guess what? You're going to have a whole other chapter or 5.
Yeah. So, and again, listen, I'm never going to complain. It's the best possible problem in the world to have. But I'm stuck in a spot right now where essentially one of the big things that I'm needing to rewrite is the opening paragraph, because I had a completely different opening paragraph. It was going to start at Snyder Con, and it was going to start with him essentially confirming that he had a cut, the Devin Fuentes video.
Yeah.
So that's not starting there anymore. And so much of the book has to be not rewritten, but it has to be at least rephrased in a way, because a lot of it was written from the tone of, if it happens, might it happen? What do we do if? That's
one of the things I was going to ask you. I'm like, how much does, now the announcements out there, how much does it alter the book?
Yeah, I mean, a ton, because it alters how I get into the story, and it alters it's like the ultimately the story was always just, we don't know when it's going to happen, but these are the people who are fighting really hard for it, and this is why they're fighting for it.
Yeah.
And now that it is happening, it just reframes it. Now it's like, look, they succeeded, these crazy sons of bitches. But here's one problem, and then I'll stop pontificating.
It's okay.
I had a year to work on my opening, like I kept going back and refining the opening, because I was like, well, this is where everyone's going to start, and now I have a month to refine a new opening. So, and I hate it. I hate my opening right now, and I just have to get past it and kick into what I have. So we're working on it.
One of the questions I wanted to ask, because I kind of mentioned it because people were talking about Christopher Nolan, the fact that movies, he's holding strong with Tenet and everything, and they're gonna test the waters with Inception. And somebody asked, like, what movie would you want them to re-release? And, you know, one of my all-time favorite movies is Memento, Christopher Nolan's second movie, the one that really kind of put him on the map. And I just love that movie. I love the way that the story is told backwards, but also forwards. And he has a really great explanation of how he told that story. There's like a video that I saw probably a month or so ago, the way that he explains it. And it's just so beautiful. And it inspired me to write, when I saw it years and years and years ago, to write a script, to write a couple scripts, to be honest. And then one of the scripts that I wrote, you know, it survived one of the many moves that I've had, because I kind of jump around a little bit. And I had 4 screenplays that I wrote at one point, and 3 of them got destroyed by water damage. One of them, the thriller, the one that got inspired by Memento, survived. And I was like, I'm going to try to convert that into a novel.
Right.
But it's just so hard to find time to finish it. I got probably about 85% of it done. And I wanted to ask you, since you're writing this book, I mean, where do you find the time?
It's really hard.
Yes.
It's hard because I'm trying to still be present in the lives of my family, right?
Exactly.
I have a wife and kids. The kids, not so much. My boys are old enough now where they really have their own stuff going on. They are teenagers.
How many boys do you have?
2 boys, and they are 16 and 12.
Nice.
And they are self-sufficient. You know, one of them's driving. The other one's got a ton of friends, and he's into his own thing. And it's easier for me to slip away than it would have been, God forbid, when they were younger. You know, I would never have been able to do this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But one thing that I'll talk about with writing, and you know this too, it eats away at you. You have to keep feeding it, right?
Yeah.
I find, especially with this book, that I'm thinking about little else. You know, I always want to go back and just keep playing with it, because it's like a clay, you know, and the more that you mold it and the more that you shape it, it's when it sticks, when everything comes together and you're like, oh, I'm really happy with that paragraph, or I'm really happy with this chapter. It's so rewarding. But you only know when it's right when you get to it. So it takes a lot of time. My wife has been amazing in that she just understands. She understands that I need to get it out. I'm a journalist and a writer by trade, so this is not totally new. It'd be like if I were a car salesman, or, you know, working in some other thing, and be like, I want to write a book, and taking all the time away to do this, but I write all the time.
Yeah.
So, but it takes weekends. I am taking weeks at a time off of work, where they're encouraging me to burn days and just really, for 8 or 9 hours of the day, laser focus on getting it right. And that's what got the manuscript to the point where I needed it to be. But Dave, it went fast. It went fast to the point where, this was September when I started putting this together, and August, September, where I kind of put the template of it together. And then once you have the template, I just kind of filled it in. And I'm sure you kind of know this with a screenplay too. It probably gives you what your chapter layout is. And sometimes some of them write themselves, and some of them are a challenge to get through.
Well, yeah. I mean, even right now, before, I mean, it's funny too, because the announcement of Zack Snyder's Justice League messed with something that I was putting together. I was going to put a series of videos just from basically from the reception of BVS till now, just all the information that I've gathered, you know, from sources, from everything that I heard, and all the stuff. I was going to have a series of videos where I was just going to talk about everything that had to do with the Snyder Cut. And, you know, I outlined it. And I'm sure, you know, that's one of the steps you do, is just kind of outline it. Okay, I'm going to have a video on this, and then this, part 1, part 2, part 3, and just kind of outlined it. And then all of a sudden he announces it, and I'm like, now what do I? And now it's now I got to mess with things, and then I have to postpone it, because now I have all these other ideas to do, videos, and just kind of talk about certain things and discuss certain things. So you know, I totally understand when that all happened, it's just you got to go back almost and just kind of tweak things and just mess around with things. But another thing I wanted to ask you too, when you brought up your family, when it comes to the Snyder Cut, because you know, friends and family, when you explain that concept, do you ever do they ever look at you what the hell are you doing, or anything?
Well, so my boys tease me all the time. My nickname is just Snyder Cut. You know, they're like, "What's up, Snyder Cut?" And you know, they're a little bit tired of hearing it. My oldest jokes that the book is going to produce Jeep money. He would like a Jeep.
Okay.
And I just tell him that he's delusional essentially at this point.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something really funny that connected. Like they know that it's a thing, and they know that I've kind of been laser focused on it. But on May 20th, when the cut got announced, it at least was trending everywhere on social media. That my oldest, my 16-year-old, came out of his room in like the most authentic response, and he was like, "Why the hell is the Snyder Cut trending on Twitter?" Like, to him, it's just a thing that's in our house.
Yeah.
And my wife just burst out laughing. She was like,
sure.
"Now do you understand what your father is involved in?" And I mean, I give Michelle, my wife, all the credit in the world, for she's the one that brought the focus of the book around to the people in the movement, because she's, you know, as interested in film as any supportive spouse would be, but it's not her lifeblood, essentially.
Yeah.
So when I explain superhero movies and comic book movies and stuff like that, you know, she'll pay attention, but she a little bit glazes over, you know, half.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, yeah, I mean, like there's been times too where like I've explained the whole thing to friends or family, you know, and it's funny too, because you know, the fanboy in me starts coming out when I'm starting to like explain certain things. Like I have a cousin who's like a big fan of Superman. And every time that, you know, there's a family get together, we talk about all that stuff. And like for like the past 2.5 years, you know, whether it was Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, or something like that, he's like looking at me like, "So what's up? What's going on? You know, what are you talking about?" And then other people might start like getting into the conversation, but they have no idea what I'm talking. And then I have to like kind of do a backstory, be like, "Well, this is what happened. You remember that Justice League movie? Remember how awful it was?"
Right,
you know,
right.
kind of thing, and just kind of explain certain things. So that's why I wanted to kind of like ask you, since you're like, you know, you got this book coming out, and I just always wonder, like, what was it like explaining that to family, friends, and
friends
everything?
is the hardest part, because a lot of friends are really excited to find out that I'm writing a book, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool. What's it about?" And I only get 2 lines into it, the pitch, and you can see them checking out, you know. So I need a more refined pitch and with some real sexy adjectives in there to make it seem really appealing to them. So
yeah, but I mean, at least you got that support system from the family. That's always what's good. So
they're great.
one of the thing I wanted to ask you too, like I know you went back and kind of, you know, you're shaping the book and everything like that, but what would you say was like the most interesting part writing the book?
I had just personal experiences. The chapter where I got to explain about going to the set, you know, was a really special time to recollect. I was keeping in my back pocket the chapter about when I went to the Army of the Dead set visit, and the stuff that I learned from Zack that day. That was really what I thought to be valuable quotes and his perspective of where he was at that time, you know, with the movement. That was shortly after the Times Square billboards, and he was very aware of the fact that was happening, and it was one of the first times that we got to speak to him and find out how he felt about what the movement was doing publicly, you know. But the funny thing is, and this has been a challenge as well too, not that those things lose their value or lose their impact, but they're not as special in the book as what I have now after the fact, because I've been lucky enough to speak to him since he made the announcement and get more of the story from different angles, where we cover a lot of other ground, and he gives me his perspective about where he is now. But I don't want to lose those pieces, because, and I was explaining this on another show, there's an incredible happy accident to this book that I don't think I never planned. And if anybody else tried to get into it now, it wouldn't be possible. In that I started it at a time when nobody knew that this was going to be achieved, right? Yeah. So most of the people who I spoke, and this is people involved in the film, and this is people in the movement, we're still very much we're fighting really hard to make this happen. Zack too. Speaking to Zack on the Army of the Dead set, he was still very much like, "I appreciate the fight. You know, I think it's really important that they're doing this. We need to make our voices heard. We need to change what's going on at Warner Brothers." If I tried to go back and get all of those quotes or all of those stories now after the fact, it would be impossible. It would be really, really difficult. So I find it so rewarding that I was able to put the story of the movement together while the movement was in its prime, essentially, you know, and then be there to celebrate with them after the fact. It's actually stupid remarkable, you know, that the timing of it worked the way that it did, because I really do believe I was really proud of the book when it was its own thing before the cut was announced. But now that it's announced and it has the ability to have an ending, I honestly believe, and maybe I'm overselling it, but I honestly believe the book has the ability to be something really, really special. So I hope we'll see.
I think it will be. I mean, it's crazy how things end up happening. I mean, like you said, it was just when you first started the book, you thought, okay, this is a thing that might not happen, you know, from years from now. I mean, there's been so many times where I get people asking me like, oh, is it going to happen? You know, and I always just say, don't lose hope, but we could be in the long haul. We could be in it for the long haul. And I always would say, I'm like, don't lose hope. We, you know, keep on doing whatever the hell you want to do. You know, I'm going to keep doing my thing, any kind of information that comes out. But then all of a sudden it was just like, I mean, I think there was like a real turning point after November 17th of last year when that all happened. And then all of a sudden when he released the shirt with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I mean, to a lot of people, it's like, that's a brand. He just branded it right there. Something happened, you know, and we were all kind of speculating, but we weren't sure exactly when is it going to be announced. And I think we were on Fatal J's stream, and we were both asked like, well, when do you think it's going to be announced? And I think we both kind of almost had a similar thing, like maybe it'll be announced this year, but it won't come out next year. I didn't think it was going to be announced till like the end of the year, if anything.
Well, COVID really messed things up, honestly.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I kind of stand by the fact that if he screened it in February for executives, if the world was normal and he could have shot and filled in some gaps, I think he wanted it ready for the launch, you know, for the HBO Max launch. Yeah. I don't know. I'm speculating, but it feels like he could have finished it in time for the launch from February to May, the end of May, if the timeline sort of syncs up. But I don't know.
That damn COVID just messing up everything.
Screwing everything up, isn't it?
Hey, I tell you what. But luckily, I mean, hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I can tell you. Let me tell you one thing that Zack told me.
Okay.
During our interview.
Just go ahead and tell us everything that Zack told you. Go.
Yeah, sure. Right. Exactly. This is funny. I said this on another show, but I mean it. The part of me is really protective. Like I want there to be some secrets. I want there to be some reveals, you know, when the movement picks up the book. But I honestly do also feel that like the movement's going to get the book regardless. But I really would like it to be interesting to you guys.
Well,
when
it's
you read
almost similar to like, because a lot of people always go like, well, isn't Snyder like revealing too much with his images and everything like that? Yeah. I'm like, you're going to watch it anyways. Okay. No matter what. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of like crazy reveals that we didn't see, but no matter what, we're still going to watch it. We're still going to enjoy it. So I totally understand what you're saying.
And he straight up confessed to me at the end of it, at the end of our conversation, which I thought was really touching. He said, look, man, when you started this book, he essentially admitted, like, I knew you were working on it. But when you started I didn't think there was a chance of this happening anytime soon. Like that's how fast it seemed to happen on his end also. Yeah. And he said, so to me, it was a real leap of faith on your behalf, you know, to even begin putting this together. And he goes, I'm just really thrilled that we got to a point where I'm able to talk to you about this, you know, and fill in a lot of the gaps. And I never thought of it that way. And it was really cool to hear that from him. So,
yeah, because I'm wondering if like, I mean, you got the interview after it got announced, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, like you said, you didn't have that part of the book, which is all his quotes. And I'm sure there's a ton of quotes that you're going to have. Like, I don't know the way that you're going to structure it, whether you're going to have like quotes throughout the book or just have a chapter dedicated to it.
I'm going to lace them throughout.
Yeah. I had a feeling that that's what was going to be the case, which is fantastic. I think that's a good way to go by it. But I mean, the fact that, you know, I mean, it's just so awesome that it actually got announced. And the fact that, that if it didn't get announced, you just have a book, you know, that was about the whole movement and it still would have been great. And we still all would have gotten in and read it and everything like that. But now it's extra special because now you got his quotes like lining all throughout the book, which is great.
Well, and I was told back in March by my direct contact to him, his publicist, essentially, that he couldn't talk. Like March was officially when I was told.
Well, he was like radio silent for like 2 months. He wasn't posting anything. A lot of people were like, "What's going on?" And it was just kind of just hold on,
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it was the negotiations, essentially.
Yeah.
And so when I was told that, that's when I decided, or that's when I realized, okay, I have to make the book work without him, kind of thing, which I was always prepared for, because I went into this endeavor never imagining that he would contribute.
That's the way you have to go. Yeah, you have
of course.
To go like that. Yeah.
And it's funny. I can admit this now, thank God, but there was a huge concern in the back of my mind that if I came out with a release the Snyder Cut book, the first question that anyone should ask me is, "Oh, cool. Did you talk to Zack Snyder?" and if my answer is no, then I fully anticipate you saying, "Okay, cool," and then throwing the book off to the side. Because what value does a Snyder Cut book have if you don't get to talk to Zack? Yeah. But I still tried to convince myself, like, no, there's still value. And there honestly would be. It would still be a really great story.
Yeah.
But that component would be missing. And I know I would judge whoever wrote that book if they didn't get a chance to talk to him. So I'm so thankful and so appreciative to him that he took the time to contribute to it. So
it's so awesome. It's just so awesome how things work out. Were you able to talk to anybody else from the crew cast? No.
Still trying to get Terrio. That's my last.
There you go. That's a good one.
I don't have Terrio yet, and I'm still trying to get him. But everybody else I've kind of lined up that I have quotes from them that have still been relevant to the construction of the thing. But I mean, ultimately, having Zack comment on just about all of it. And it's funny, like, I prepped these questions the entire time that I wrote the book.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was always, whenever I got to a point, I was always like, I would love him to follow up on this. I would love him to and I just made a list, and I had it, so that when they finally, once the cut was announced, I went right to his people again, and I was like, how about now? And every time that we turned a corner on something, I was always like, how about now? And they'd be like, nope, he still can't. No, he still can't. And then when he made the announcement that day, I wrote them and I was like, let's do it. And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like,
hallelujah.
And the thing is, I had the questions. I had everything prepped, So so it was all there.
That's so awesome. I mean, oh man, it's just it's crazy. And I actually wanted to ask you, I mean, since we talked last, I mean, how has your experience been with like everything with fans and everything? Has it been relatively good? Right?
Yeah. No. Everything's been really great. Everything's been so super supportive.
I mean, that's what I've noticed too, is like the support for this book. I mean, and I feel bad because I'm really bad when it comes to Twitter. And I thought I was following you, but turns out I wasn't. But the reason why I thought I was following you is because so many people retweet your stuff. And I feel bad because I was like, wait a minute, how am I not following? Oh shit. So I apologize for not that, but it was just the fact that I always saw your stuff, and even like you have a separate handle for the Snyder Cut book, which is pretty awesome too. You gotta build up some more hype for that, and I like that.
Absolutely. And to the point where and I tried to stay as impartial as I could during this entire process. Like, I really didn't want to look like I was taking a side or honestly take a side. I wanted to get in and report about the movement from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I was saying that, like, if I got into this and interviewed a lot of people from the movement and got a vibe that it was a bunch of petulant, immature, trolls, and essentially internet trolls, then the tone of the book might have gone in that direction, but I've actually, with full authenticity, have encountered nothing but positivity from the people in the movement. And it's not like they're putting on a facade.
No,
because I've gotten it consistently over the course of, a year and a half of investigating almost every aspect of this. So it annoys me to no end. Honestly, now that it's personally annoying me, when other colleagues of mine at bigger outlets do these drive-by hit pieces, when I know that And you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I kind of
when
yeah.
I know they haven't spent a minute talking to any of you guys.
No.
And all I did for a year was just talk to you guys.
Yeah.
You know, and it took a little while to earn some trust, and I would understand that, of course.
Yeah.
But my experience with the fans has been incredible. Everybody from the movement has been incredible, and so that's where my reporting has taken me through.
Yeah, I mean, I think even when like you came up with the idea of doing a book, I mean, I know I was one of them. I'll even admit it, where I was like, hey, wait, who's this guy? Who's this guy? He's one of those. What's going on? You know, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Sure.
You know, I think I was on Lightcast podcast, and I even talked to him about that. You know, when somebody new shows up and is starting to build up like something, and they've already established. I mean, you know, we've been burned in the past. You know,
the guy from the BBC is the latest trying to do this, right?
yeah, exactly. So,
and that guy comes into it. Listen, he may have an open mind about how he wants to report, but when he starts off his tweet by saying, "This is going to sound crazy," but
yeah, I know.
Dude, what?
That's like your first red flag right there. And I think a lot of people were like, whoa. Let's hold on here. But I think, I think now that it's actually happening, it's like, hopefully he's doing his due diligence where it's like, okay, he's actually going to report this thing. He's not going to do a slam piece, because I mean, before it was like, you know, when like, whether you go talk about the Wall Street Journal article or whatever, they didn't think, oh, this thing's not going to happen. These are just crazy fans. But now that it actually got to the point where it happened, where it's going to be, you know, it's going to happen, you know, they're not going to write some stupid slam piece, because then they're going to end up looking bad at the end. So hopefully that's what's going to be the case with all that. And one last thing I wanted to ask you before we invite some people in here to chat a little bit with you is, are you going to do a follow-up book called The Air Cut?
You know what? It's I've become more intrigued by that story.
Right?
I really have.
I mean,
and I don't. When I pitched the Snyder Cut book around to a lot of publishers, the feedback I got from so many of them was, and they were wrong. They just didn't quite understand it. They said, "This sounds like a really great article, a really great feature article. You know, almost like a magazine cover type thing. But I'm not quite sure how deep the details would be." That's a little bit of my concern with the Air Cut one. I think there's a lot of stuff that went on in there, but I don't know if it has quite the depth that the Snyder Cut movement story had.
It definitely does not. I mean, it's almost like it's interesting, because we've always suspected that, you know, Ayers, it's a whole different beast, because first off, somebody else didn't come in and totally try to just reshoot his entire movie. I mean, any of the reshoots that he did, it was all him. It was all him. And he just
promoted it.
Yeah,
I interviewed him at the junket.
Oh, yeah. And he even said, like, he was like, "Oh, this is my movie, blah, blah, blah." I mean, of course, you know, he had to say that. It's not the same beast as it is. I mean, it's almost like, it's just like a spin-off of almost the Snyder Cut. I mean, like, when he comes to the Snyder Cut fandom, we all want to see that as well. But our main focus was, of course, the Snyder Cut. It was just kind of like, okay, well, once we get that, hopefully we can get the Air Cut too. But I just wanted to throw that joke out there, because, man, he's pushing hard for it, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
And for that reason, I am 95% convinced that it's going to come to HBO.
Oh,
Max
I mean, it just seems like HBO. I mean, we've been talking about it forever. I think even like when we talked back in February, it almost seemed like a perfect match,
right,
for HBO Max. And then, I mean, another thing I wanted to tell you. I mean, what are your thoughts of possibly it being broken up into chapters where it gets released on a weekly basis?
I mean, the more that I think about that, the more that I think that that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of whether he has enough footage to do that. You know, I don't want him to shortchange episodes.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how much he's going to be able to go back and refilm and pull off because of the actors that would have to be involved.
True.
The COVID thing is really screwing things up. I mean, that's a legitimate problem that you can't put together a film production right now. You know, you can't build a set. You can't get things going. But I think that the deeper, longer story that he wanted to tell in this, one thing that I can hint at that he talked about. Oh, can I say this? Yeah, I think I can say this.
Yes, you can. Just say it. Just say it. Just say it.
The fact that he branded it Zack Snyder's Justice League,
yeah,
means that it's separate from anything else that's going on in the DCEU, right?
Yes.
It's its own. It's not. It's essentially not Warner Brothers Justice League anymore. It's truly his project.
Yes.
And he calls it Zack Snyder's Justice League for a reason. Now, I think that means that he's able to put back in all of these things that, and we've heard some reports, like some of the things that he might have even agreed to shoot for his own version that he didn't necessarily agree with, he's going to get rid of. And I think that he can start thinking about this longer story that he has and divide it into chapters. And it doesn't even have to be structured in a way that like a television episode will kind of end on a cliffhanger if necessarily, if you line it up the right way. There's plenty of long form TV series that just kind of end, you know, and then you just pick up on the next episode sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think he could stylistically and narratively bring them to some cool cliffhangers. And I almost would love to, right now I'm at the point where I would prefer an episodic approach to it.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I still have people that push back against that. They just want to see like Eminem, you know, they just want to see his entire movie and blah blah blah. And you know, and that's one of the things too that you know I have a video that I'm going to be doing that kind of just breaks down Zack Snyder's Justice League for you know, Zack Snyder's Justice League for dummies kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing that, you know, and hopefully I'm going to shoot that this weekend and get it out by Sunday. Just to kind of break it down. But then there's also like a kind of like a part 2 of that. It's like the Snyder Cut is not going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean, the Snyder Cut was one thing. It was 214,
right?
Everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like a whole different beast. It's something better. It's something absolutely epic that we're going to get. And the fact that it could be broken up the chapters like that. I mean, I remember when I heard about it. I mean, I heard about this last year and I was like, wow, that's actually not a bad idea. And just the way that I thought about it and discussing it over many streams with like the various individuals that are going to be joining us right now. It's just like, it just makes absolute sense. So let's bring on some of these guys in the panel. First off, we got Scott from Podcast.
Hey, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
Very well. Good to actually like see your face instead of just, you know, talking over audio this time.
Absolutely. You got it, my friend.
How's it going, Scott? How's it going over there in Alabama?
It's doing just fine. You have to forgive me. I'm only drinking water this evening.
What?
I brought wine to the vodka stream.
You always were all about the beer and stuff like that, man.
I know. I'm doing that overnight action walk thing, and I have got to increase my water intake for all the walking and swimming I've been doing lately. So I'm being good.
Hey man, good on you. That's amazing. Good for you.
Good stuff. And nice shirt, by the way. Rest in peace, Denny, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I figured that's why you were wearing that shirt tonight.
Actually, unfortunately, it was strange serendipity. I chose this shirt this morning.
Wow.
As the shirt. My wife actually gave me this shirt for my first birthday we celebrated when we were dating. So I've had this shirt since about 2008, and it just happened to be the shirt I was wearing when I saw the news this afternoon. Man. Yeah.
Crazy to think
about, man. Sad.
Yeah, I mean, but he lived a long life, and you know, his work will live on forever, at least. You
Absolutely.
know, that's what's so great about it. But yeah, feel free to ask Mr. O'Connell here anything that you want to ask. I mean,
well, it was kind of fun because I'm not going to lie. As I was watching, I was taking notes because, you know, I've hit him up for later on for, you know, my own program. So it's like, taking notes.
Scott is definitely later. Scott and Chris Wong are two guys who reached out to me who I
Speaking of,
okay, so this is why I'm really glad, and this is exactly why I'm so glad that I agreed to do the vodka stream, because these are the two guys who I legitimately wanted to do shows with, and they were both nice enough to invite me onto their platforms. And I just got to a point where I had to say, like, boys, I gotta shut up for a little while. But let's do it tonight. Let's just go all out and vodka stream it up and have a good time.
Oh no, because I completely understand, because like you have 16 and 12, I have 7 and 4, and I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I get it. But then in my back of my mind, I think I even said this to Chris, because we talked, and I was like, but Chris, he's going to have the book done by the time he talks to us.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I have a vacation planned
Elaborate.
for. I have a vacation planned for the end of July, and I've said to Michelle, the book has to be finished before we leave because I won't be
Yes.
able to enjoy.
You won't be able to have a good
Oh,
time.
yeah.
No, it's gotta be done. It's gotta be done and
Absolutely.
filed. So that's the
Yeah.
goal. That is the goal.
So what's up,
Awesome.
Mr. Swenson?
Awesome.
How you doing? How's it over
Good.
there in Oahu? Or in you're what? Close to Oahu or close?
I am in Oahu. Yeah.
Oh, you are in Oahu. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. No. It's
Yeah.
good.
Good.
Good
Really
to see you,
good.
Chris. Good
Yeah.
to see
Good
you.
to see you,
Glad everyone's
John.
okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
Too
we're all-
bad, it's gonna not a good place to come vacation. I would yet. They extended
Yeah.
to July 31st, so it's like, nah.
It's crazy. I know.
Yeah.
Over here in Southern California, I mean, they're really trying to open things back up right now. And I'm like, I just want to go to the movies. That's all I really want to do.
Yes.
I was
Because
really surprised that Tenet pushed back. I thought
Yeah.
Nolan was going to hold fast to that date.
But I mean, it's only 2 weeks. That's
Yeah,
the thing. It's like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
only 2 weeks. So
But
he's
then Wonder
really-
Woman to October. That's a big move.
Oh, my
Yeah.
wife is. I had
Yes.
to tell her on the car ride home. I was out with my oldest, and I was I hit the phone button and was calling her in the car, and I was like, "Honey, I got some news. You're not going to be."
No. It's a long wait.
Oh,
That's going to be a full almost year that movie
Yeah.
got delayed now, essentially, right? Because
what
it was
cracks-
November.
It was
Yeah.
it was supposed to be November of 2019. Yeah.
Yeah. What
I feel
crushed
bad
me
for
was
Patty.
Godzilla versus Kong crushed.
Oh
me.
yeah, that hurt you.
Yeah.
Man, that was one of your
Heck.
top ones.
I saw it. I got my phone when we were walking. We were doing our run, and I pulled my son. Is like, hey, it's not coming out this year. He's like, why?
Oh.
And like I had to explain to him. He's a huge
Yeah, your boys
Godzilla
love
fan,
that
man.
stuff.
When was it supposed to
Yeah.
be? November?
Yeah.
November, yeah, and
November.
that was pushed back already. It was supposed to have been earlier this
Right.
year too.
Right. God.
Oh well, it's sad.
crazy.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
But we're gonna invite a fifth person to this. Stephen Colbert.
Hey,
There
nice.
you go.
Wait, you
Oh my
got the
God.
shirt too?
Yeah, so
What's
mine's
up?
way too big though. I don't know if that's like part of the RT Snyder Cut guy thing, or if I just ordered a too big of a size. But I choose to just believe that it's a
They sent you mine.
part of the flavor.
I'm gonna be buying a red beard and a wig, man. I'm going for Halloween.
Yeah, I
man.
realized my hair is way darker, but I
You
cut
could.
it all off. But if it was longer and I just put on which glasses am I wearing? If I was wearing my black glasses, it would have I'd be like almost the dude.
Close to it.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Sweet.
So, anyways, well, welcome, Stephen. I know you've already met Sean, of course, right?
Yeah.
In a way, I wish that Steven and I were better friends when we both went to the Army of the Dead set.
I was about to say, there
because,
you go.
we met for the very first time on that set. And
Mhm.
Even though you would think our paths would have crossed just from professional things that we've gone to, although I don't know, how many set visits do you go to? Do you stay pretty busy with that?
I don't go to a ton. I went to that was the last one I've been to. I turned down one or two in the meantime because I couldn't make it. But
Right.
before that, and let's see, that would have been 2019. I did 2 in 2017, just 1 in 2018. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
like-
So, but you snatched that Army of the Dead one up.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Can't skip that one.
We met for the first time on that set, and had I known we were both going to be, well, he was already immersed in this, fully at this point, and I was dipping my toe into the water, I would have picked his brain a lot more. So,
Yeah. Well, and it was funny not knowing. It's such a weird thing, particularly on this topic, to be like not knowing where everybody else is on it and not wanting to like talk exclusively about that the whole time. And so,
oh my God, we could have gossiped like little schoolgirls.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Traded secrets.
That would have been great.
That was so
Yeah.
much fun. I know we can't even really talk about what we learned on that day.
I know
Maybe
that's what I was about to say. I'm like, you guys
Yeah.
can't really talk too much about that. I
we
mean,
can't talk details, but we can talk about just how much fun it was to see Zack. Like, I mean, he's DP on that film, so
Yeah.
it was so much fun to just see him immersed in his environment, and how geeked he was to like run back to the monitors with us, because we all had chairs around the monitors and we all had headphones to sort of watch what they were shooting. And he was so fired up to just come back and watch how things were coming
Or-
together. And
well,
then,
the best. I don't know if you were there for this. This is the first time I've talked about it because you've outed me now.
I'm sorry.
But,
Yeah.
Netflix.
Oh, shoot, was I not supposed to say that?
No, you knew it was going to happen. I mean, you knew it was going to happen.
Because I always asked, and I was like, no, I can say that I was in Atlantic City, and they're like, yeah, but we just don't say that you were here yet. But I didn't break anything. It's your fault. I think it's not like it's not really violating. I think my favorite part was Clay.
This was my revenge, Stephen, for you adding me about the Dark Side storyboard.
Yeah.
That's what happened. The fact that you added me on that. There you go. I got you back.
Sitting around sitting at the monitors, and Clay goes up to Zack and he's like, "Oh, I got a great Zack attack there while you were setting up that shot." He's showing him the pictures.
Yes, and Zack loved it. He came back to like show us the Zack attack.
Then Clay came over and he's like, "There's this big thing about Zack attack." And I was like, "I know about Zack attack."
Yeah. It was great just to catch up with Clay again because I got to see him on the Justice League set and really talk to him for a long period of time and got to meet him then. And he's one of those dudes too. He's just so down to earth and really nice. He said to me, he was like, "Oh, that's right. You and I were on Justice League together." And I was like, "You're Clay Enos. How do you even know that?" So
that's it's always great when like they remember you, you know,
right.
It's always like, I mean, I'm sure like inside you were probably just like, "Oh yeah, that was me." But inside you're like, you know?
So I immediately in my phone scanned to the Batmobile shot that he took on the set of Justice League, and then I was like, "Hey Clay, you took this," and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
I mean that kind of happened with Swenson and I. I remember there was one particular moment that happened at the Snyder event. We were sitting next to each other, and Zack was actually talking about stuff, and he kind of like he was talking about something I can't remember exactly what it was, but then he goes, "Well, like those guys," and he pointed at like in our direction. He goes, "Like those guys, I know those guys." And me and Chris kind of looked at each other like, "Is he talking about us? Oh my god!" You know, remember that? It was just like, my god, you know. And then finally actually talking to him, like when we got our posters signed. I mean. The fact that, I mean, he actually was like, he knew exactly who we were. And it was just kind of like, oh, God, I need a moment. I need a moment. You know, it's like one of those, but you want to be like professional and be like, hey, got your back, man. It's cool. And then you're just like, you walk off like, you know.
Yeah. I couldn't say anything. That's what, for the rest of like Deborah and everything, my face was just like this. And my wife ended up talking to everybody.
I gotta punch in real fast. There's a great guy named Teth Adam who just he's asked repeatedly if I've gotten in touch with Chris Terrio. I was not able to get in touch with Chris Terrio yet. I've reached out to all of his people. Wow. I'm trying to get him, but I'm running out of time. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time. Yeah. So but
apparently he's gonna kiss anybody on the mouth who talks to Chris Terrio.
I think
that's you know.
When Terrio said during the press rounds for was it the Star Wars?
It was Rise of Skywalker.
Was it Rise of Skywalker? Yeah. I'm fairly certain at that point when he said that, he knew Zack was negotiating, and that's what I'm going to. And he knew that sooner or later the barriers were going to be removed and he'd be able to talk. So, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So.
I'm wondering when I mean, it seems like he's just got a lot to talk about. I mean, talk about a guy who, I mean, he wins an Academy Award with Ben, you know, Argo, everything, you know, and then he gets invited to, he gets brought in to basically punch up BVS, you know, Ben brings him in, which is awesome. I mean, that's something that you can't just turn down. You got Ben Affleck going, "Hey, come in here and kind of punch up this script a little bit. We just need a little bit of something." And then all of a sudden he gets, "Hey, you want to help write Justice League?" You know, I can't even imagine like getting that conversation or that phone call. And then just to have that also messed with. And then, I mean, from what I heard, I mean, this is before you got the Rise of Skywalker gig. I mean, from what I heard from my source, and you know, you just kind of feel bad. He thought he wasn't going to work again after the theatrical release came out because his name is on that with Joss Whedon. Sadly, I mean, when you see the writing creds, it's right there with Joss Whedon, and he was apparently just scared that he's like, "I'm not going to work again because look at this thing that came out that has my name on it that I wrote." I didn't write that, but I can't say anything. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing too, is like, we got to realize when it comes to that, we're finally going to see Zack's vision is like, the redemption that even Terrio gets, and a lot of these people that worked on this movie are going to get, that we've heard about over the past 2.5 years, that, you know, we hear about scenes. Oh yeah, what's his name who played Ares, you know, saying he got in super shape, you know, like almost like 0.2% body fat just to like do this scene that was cut out of it.
The words that are burned into my brain from talking to him was skin like paper and veins like worms. That's the words that Zack, that's what Zack told him his character was going to look like. That was they were like defining his physique. And I'm sure what's his name? I slip in my mind now. The guy, the Zack's gym guy. I did 300 and all that other stuff.
Mark? No, I don't know.
It's anyway, but I'm sure that was a conversation with him. But he said that he sat down with Zack and they worked out the look, and skin like paper and veins like worms is such a descriptive, and he got it. I mean, it describes the image that he posted of his like post workout look.
Also, breaking news, Chris Terrio is going to be fine, and there's a lot of hacky screenwriters in Hollywood that get jobs regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of people who I'm not going to name drop who just keep getting employed. So Chris Terrio is going to be okay. He'll survive Justice League, and he'll be fine.
The interesting thing that people don't really talk about as much on that front, and I think part of the confusion or lack of interest is just because it's a more technical side of it, but Joss Whedon getting credit on the movie as a writer, it was never going to happen as director, because as the DGA says that if a director does 90% of principal photography, that they're the director, so they're never going to take that away from Zack, and it was impossible for Whedon to get credited. But for the Writers Guild, their basic agreement says that if it goes into arbitration for who gets credit for the script, they don't look at like lines of dialogue, they look at impact to the story. And so we know that it's been said that Whedon did 85-ish pages of additional script, and he got credited on the script. Like, keep in mind, he did like a page 1 rewrite of Speed, for example, replaced every single line of dialogue in the movie, did not get credit on it because the plot was basically identical. And so the fact that he's credited on Justice League doesn't just mean that he punched up dialogue. It doesn't mean he added connective tissue. It means he fundamentally altered things significantly enough in those 85 pages that the WGA said, this is a different story, and we need to credit the man who wrote that different story. So obviously Terrio, does not share screenplay credit on the new one. I think he shares story credit with Zack, right, but not screenplay credit.
Where was that quote from where Chris Terrio says, why don't you use any of my I know Garza said he may have thought it was Kevin McCarthy or one of those guys.
That's my boy.
Where is that quote from?
You keep asking that. I have got to go back through our show notes. It was because we archive all of our show notes with all the links of all the articles that we've discussed. So I'm at some point, because that question keeps on coming up, and even I keep bringing it up, I'm going to have to like dig through 2017 show notes and just go,
wait, tell me what it is again.
I think that might have been the New York Times piece that came out after it trended.
Was that what it was?
Is that where it was?
Because it was one of those things that came from
Sean, to answer your question, there was a quote that came out in an article leading up to Justice League that reportedly said that Terrio had said to Jeff Johns, hey, how about you use some of my pages?
Oh, gotcha.
I don't think it was the New York Times piece. It was the same author. I think it was Kyle Buchanan. But he deleted the tweets because it was about the writer's room with Seth Grahame-Smith and Whedon and whoever else was in on that. I'm trying to find
was on the Justice League set visit with us, and I always found it to be a little bit strange. And I know that at the time he was at Vulture, and Vulture's a pretty big outlet. But he didn't necessarily fit the mold of who I thought would be invited to the Justice League set.
Well, that was I know I wasn't there, but what I've heard about it is it was a very atypical set visit where like it was originally just like a handful of people contacted by Cruel and Unusual, and then all of a sudden it was like a WB event and like everyone and their mother was coming.
It was definitely an odd mix of people, and we all felt very strange being there because the hook of it was you can report what you learn immediately, which never happens on set visits.
Right.
obviously why Steven and I can't talk about Army of the Dead yet, because we don't even know the release date of that film coming to Netflix. But the point of the Justice League set visit was really, hey, start reporting on this right away, because we want the story on the DCEU to change wholeheartedly away from the doom and gloom of BVS to, not Marvel light, but that Zack was approaching a different tone, and he was. I mean, it was his intention to approach a different tone to Justice League, and this was probably going to be reflected in the version that we do see on HBO Max. He's always been under the impression that the addition of Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher was going to change the tone away from the confrontationalness of Batman versus Superman. He needed BVS to be a confrontational film. He didn't need Justice League to be a confrontational film. He wanted it to be a team building film, and it's going to reflect that in his voice.
Well, I mean,
Chris,
that's
by
one
the
of the
way,
things that you kind of really notice is like, like you said, I mean, when it comes to if you're going to look at like Man of Steel, BVS, and the first Justice League as like kind of its own trilogy. I mean, BVS was supposed to be that bridge that was supposed to get to that lighter side, that iconic side. We're gonna get Superman back. He's gonna start to reach that level of where he's supposed to be, and then Batman has lost his way, and then with the death of Superman, he realizes he's got to change his tone and everything like that. I mean, it's just like, I kind of compare it to, the original Star Wars trilogy. I mean, Empire Strikes Back is that bridge between, it ends on a downer kind of thing. I mean, what were you going to say, Scott? Sorry.
No, I was just confirming. It was a Vulture article.
Okay, it was a Vulture
article.
article.
It was a Vulture article because I've just found the Reddit post that was linking to the tweet that has since been deleted.
Right. Well, the tweet was, did you have the text of the tweet was, he said WB allegedly was so unsatisfied with how the John Snyder version was shaping up. They convened a footage summit for other writers, including Whedon, Heinberg, Graham Smith, Andrea Berloff, and others to get feedback. And then they hired Whedon. But that's where the maybe try using some of my pages.
That summit is fascinating. I'd love to know, obviously the fallout of that summit and the feedback that came from it.
I think the
fascinating.
The selection of writers really obviously we know what they were going for, but really tips their hand for what they wanted, considering who they invited to the summit.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Now, one of them was working on Wonder Woman. Wasn't that right? Wasn't the
screenwriter? Who are the names again, Stephen? Seth Graham Smith. He was one of the.
He was working on Flash.
He was working on Flash.
Well, he's just kind of like a script doctor. Also,
yeah.
He's
that guy blocked me.
He
blocked me because he was going crazy on everybody, and then he was saying that Ghostbusters is not a franchise. I'm like, how the hell do you know what franchise means, dude? I'm like, franchise, they have cartoons, books, figurines, and blah blah blah. And for some reason he didn't like the fact that I said that and blocked me.
Alan Heinberg's a screenwriter on Wonder Woman, and he was part of that, right?
Yeah. Well, that would make sense then. I guess they were going to because they were trying to emulate the Marvel model, so they went to their writers' room. They don't have the MCU writers' room, but they had people working on other DC movies. Reportedly, Whedon was working on Batgirl at the time, or that was involved in some way, shape, or form. I think probably more or less. I think to quote the trailer, that's probably not even Zack dialogue anyway. I think that reveals a lot, though.
It does.
It's a different time. Time. They didn't have streaming services as safety nets. They didn't have the ability. They were trying to pivot massive cruise ships, and make a hard left turn. And you can't do that with those projects, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even it's so hard to even just it's because they were replacing every part on a car without doing a pit stop.
No, while the car was going 90.
Yeah,
I like that. Good one.
Like in the final lap. That's crazy. They could have just finished third, right?
Okay, wait. To be fair, there were 20 laps left. But still, your point's well taken.
I mean, they started in August of. I guess they started rewrites earlier, but reshoots started in August of 2017, right? Yeah. And then they finished in the week before the movie came out. When they shot the Lex stuff or something like that.
Oh, there is a definite time during the production when you're supposed to say to the director, "This is not working," and fix this. And they were way past that point. Way past that point.
Oh, and I'm kind of curious, Sean, because something that I'm very curious about reading the book when it comes out, as you know, those of us here are all people who, like, in some form or fashion, kind of lived through the fan perspective of this production. And how much were you able to really cobble together objective, concrete timeline events? Like, because one thing I'm really looking forward to reading this book is, even as someone who like lived and breathed this the entire time, learning how much am I going to be able to learn things that either I A, suspected, or B, I knew, but I'm going to learn something from a different perspective than what I had.
Yeah, it's been a great, that has been a huge challenge of walking the line between
Good question, yeah,
trying to make the book work for people who are just really curious about what the Snyder Cut is and why is this important, and I want them to be informed by it. But I do think that I was able to dredge up enough stuff to make it really entertaining for people who still feel like they know every step of the way. And a lot of that is going to come from, I think, the ability to go to the Justice League set at that time, to speak to some people who were involved in. I mean, I have an entire chapter that's called Mustache Gate.
Oh wow!
I have an entire.
That'll be a good chapter.
Mustache Gate is one of my most fun chapters to write. I do have a chapter that's called A Death in the Family, and it gets into Autumn, and it gets into a big part of the reason why I think that the charitable aspect of the Snyder Cut movement was so important. But then when it transitions away from the technical aspect of the film and putting it all together, which I think all of you guys have tracked wholeheartedly, there's a moment in the book where it transitions to the movie's coming out. How are the fans reacting to it?
Yeah.
And this goes a little bit to what Dave and I spoke about earlier, which is, if I tried to get you guys to talk about the pain and the betrayal and the heartache now, when you've crossed the finish line, I think I would get different feedback. I think I would get, it wouldn't be as raw. It wouldn't be as fresh. Like when I spoke to people in the movement, it was still really intense, where they were like, fuck these people. They ruined my life. You know, and I got incredibly emotional reactions from people about how they couldn't wait for Justice League. Like this was going to be the movie that defined their era. You know, it's exactly what they've been hoping for. And just the play-by-play of November 17th, 2017 for these folks, it's brutal, but it makes for amazing storytelling.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's funny or interesting that I'm sure you probably saw a bit of, that I noticed, is everybody's got a story now of how they felt after, like, that's the people will talk about, like, it's like the where were you when XYZ. And I didn't want to choose a real event, so I said XYZ, because if I choose a real event, I was guaranteed to choose something.
Sure. September 11th, the Kennedy assassination, you know, all those touchstones.
Yeah, exactly. One of those dramatic things. I'm not going to compare it to a movie. But over, as with like any oral tradition, over the months and like in this bubble of people who are collectively outraged about it, you see these stories kind of, people get more and more comfortable with a more extreme version of the story. So you hear Chris does a good job telling his, because he's always very honest about, like, I defended it at first, but as I came out, you know, and now I feel better about it. Dave and I were a little bit on the other end. We were mad when we came out, but it's really funny to see the people that you'll see give their version of that story, how I felt and when I noticed. And they'll talk about how, like, their heart was ripped out of their chest or whatever. And this isn't everyone, but it's funny, you see that from people, and it's like people that I remember for a fact that came out of the movie and tweeted, like, of course everyone's gonna bash on this movie because it's got Zack Snyder's name on it. And then, you know, 3 months later they were like, yeah, maybe release a Snyder Cut. Like, now they're like,
maybe. Steven, to that point, I just recorded with one of my other co-hosts on the network a conversation where we had a conversation like that in December of 2017. It was something that was on our Patreon stream for the network, and he calls it cognitive delusion. Like he just didn't want to believe it. So it's really fun to go back and have a conversation with him 2.5 years later and go,
see. What
okay, I'm going to call you on the carpet now. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I mean
What's
that
your
first week after my review, I was like, just like you said, I was good with it, and then I was on the does it exist train all the way to it exists. Like I had that transition from that to just 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah,
I was on the it doesn't exist train for just long
you were. How dare you?
Me 3 years later.
I've given you enough. I've given you enough for that. So,
We're gonna add a sixth person. Mr. Fatal J has now showed up to the panel.
Jay,
my man,
John
Fatal Jay, what's up, brother?
Sean O'Connell, I have a question for you.
Oh, he's got a question for you.
Gosh, so much pressure, Fatal J. Lay it on me, brother.
Why didn't the skeleton jump out of the plane?
the
skeleton jump out of the plane? What?
Because he didn't have any guts. No, I'm just kidding. How you doing, Sean? Hello, guys.
I mean, he knows how to make an entrance, folks.
That's true. Very true.
We get Fatal J on this thing. He knows how to make an entrance, man.
No, it's been a while, man.
That was a great dad joke. I will say. That was a great
hey, no.
That's why I was laughing.
No.
That wasn't a dad
I
joke.
get more respect than dad jokes. Come on.
This is hold on. I have to. This is an all-star panel. The fact that I'm even on this is dumbfounding to me.
Hey, anytime, man. This
Gentlemen,
is what we love doing every Friday.
Gentlemen,
I mean,
to all of you, warriors, true warriors in the fight.
Hey, we try. But Mr. Fatal J, how's it going, dude?
It's going great. I want to ask Sean a question, though. Would it be cheating if I buy 3 books from you?
No, God, no. Please. Buy 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Double that number.
Okay. Buy 6.
Yeah.
Because I need one for my videos.
Yes, sir.
And then I need one for my personal reading.
Right.
And then I need one to sleep with and cuddle with at night because I know it's going to be so awesome and beautiful and dear to my heart.
God, pressure is on, Sean.
You guys don't understand that I am so concerned about letting you all down. Like right now, I'm invited to the table.
I do have an honest question for you though, and I don't want you to name names or anything.
Yes.
No, name all the names you have.
How many people emailed you screenshots of me?
You're gonna go there, Steven. Ooh.
You are going there. Okay.
No,
hold on.
Legitimately none.
Really?
Steven. No, legitimately none.
I'm actually let down. All right.
Sorry, hold on, wait, but clarify what kind of screenshots?
Of like things that I've tweeted that people don't approve of.
Well,
No.
Colbert.
What?
You can send them to me. I'll put them to good use.
Oh, they're
Careful.
that's mad at me right now.
No. I'm going to say this. I will say this, and I don't understand why this is the case, but I'm not trying to rock the boat, and this is probably going to rock the boat. I know that there are different factions in the Snyder Cut movement, and there are people who belong to certain groups and support certain groups, and I think all of them are working toward the same goal, and I think that that's the right way to go. For whatever reason, and I pray to God that this remains the same, they've all treated me cool, and nobody has really tried to pull me into their bullshit, and I'm thankful for that because that's not the story that I want to tell.
Yeah.
There is, if somebody wants to do this, there is a very controversial version of the Snyder Cut movement. That is the National Enquirer version. Yeah, that's the National Enquirer version of this story. And I heard more than enough of this. But Stephen, I think part of the reason why people didn't send me that stuff is because I made it pretty clear early on that that was not
your intention.
Any angle at all that I was trying to get into.
I fell on two sides of that question, and I was a little bit surprised that it was the none, because I thought it was either going to go two ways. Either everyone's going to pretend that there's no controversy, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh, hey, we're all happy, nothing's wrong at all. This guy's writing a book. Everyone get in line, smile." Or there was a version where everybody's like, "We need to make sure Sean writes our version." and I was betting that it fell down on that side, but I guess I bet
no.
wrong.
Didn't happen.
This is the first time for everything.
Sean, I gotta
Sure.
know this.
What's
I
up, John?
gotta know this
Hit me
because
up.
it's been on my heart for a long time about you.
Oh,
It's been on my heart. I want to know this right here. Did you
Yes.
know about the private screening in February? Did you know about that?
yes,
Yes, he did.
Mind blown.
I did.
It blew my mind so bad. Dave just went off the screen.
Nothing's wrong at all. This guy's
Computer
writing a
died
book.
again.
Everyone
Sorry,
get in
guys.
line,
My
smile.
computer messed up again.
Or there was a version where everybody's like,
What happened, Dave?
sure,
We're listening back to me now.
His computer likes to die every once in a while.
on that side, but I guess
I turned my bass up.
That's
Didn't happen.
Even in our heads.
I gotta
That's
know.
literally our inside
Gotta
voice.
know
Right
this.
now.
Hold on. Are we going to catch up? Is that what's going to happen?
I guess, yeah.
It's been on my
You
heart.
gotta-
I want to know this right here.
Yes.
Why do I hear me?
Audio.
Do you
Because
guys hear me?
We're listening
you're
to the
hearing
past,
Dave's
like,
audio.
30 seconds of
Audio.
Sorry, that was my bad. We're good?
We're good.
Jay, I can tell you that I
Timeline.
didn't know about that screening until probably end of March, but I did know about it. Yes.
Yeah.
No, because you remember we did a stream together,
Right.
and Tyler asked you that question, and you
Right.
said I cannot answer that.
Yeah.
He asked you something about February,
Yeah.
and you said you couldn't answer. And I always knew in my heart, I said, okay, it's happening. I
Well-
knew then it was happening.
I'll tell you what happens too. You're trying to protect certain sources
Mhm.
so that they continue to feed you information. and they'll tell you there's certain things that they don't want to get out, and it's detrimental if you let certain things get out. And that screening I knew was really important and was going to be crucial to Zack convincing people to get his vision ultimately realized. So I didn't see the benefit in telling that because it might have tripped up what was going to happen.
Well, and the funny thing was knowing how many people knew about that who didn't say anything about it because like the amount of information about this that was out there the whole time that so many people were sitting on because they didn't want to feed it or they didn't want to take the L for being wrong or they just legitimately believed it would never come out. Therefore, like, I don't know. I think a screening is kind of big. Like, it's not like Disney talks to Trevorrow to be like, you know what? Let's talk about making that version of the script after. Like,
But that's why even when people in our circle, Stephen, knew about that screening, when they were still a number of people still holding true to the it doesn't exist, it'll never get released kind of thing. Like,
but it's still news. It's still news, even like
sure.
I mean, no, that's exclusive, and so you're not like I understand protecting sources and not getting that out and everything.
Yeah.
But the like look at Justice League Mortal. Look at the Trevorrow's the Duel of the Fates script for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Or for
But
episode,
he released that
like,
though.
But there's all these alternate versions of there's the Aronofsky Batman, the Aronofsky Wolverine, the Green Arrow Supermax, like any of those movies. Anytime Justice League Mortal, anytime anything happens about those movies that don't exist, people are interested and they write about it. And there's there's a Justice League Mortal documentary coming out. The Superman Lives documentary is all news, but like Snyder Cut, which is more timely, a bigger deal, a bigger property, is like crickets. It was just kind of
why do you
Sean,
think that is?
Sean, I just want to say this real fast. Sean, you're a better man than me. Because if I would have knew about the private screening, I would have made a video just like this. It's coming. It's
Jay, I'll tell you this. You got to have the long game in mind, my friend. You have to be playing the long game every
Sean,
step
you
of the
right.
way.
Sean, you right, and that's probably good that I was not trusted with a secret like that because I would just be, it's coming. I'll just be like, what the freak is wrong with him?
But I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this also, Jay, and again, Stephen will confirm this. Even when you hear something, this is just a journalistic thing. You never really believe it 100%.
Well, if you don't assume, if you aren't skeptical by default, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah, exactly.
You assume it's wrong, and then you prove it, and then you and then you have the evidence because you reverse engineered the evidence. But if you just report it without digging that up, then how do you know you're just regurgitating something that you have no context for?
Which is why I never ever understood the people who hard and fast swore by it will never happen, because there's no such thing as it will never happen in our industry ever.
Right.
Things change all the time. And even with that screening, to focus on that screening doesn't mean anything ultimately, because he could screen it and people could love it or people could hate it, and whatever the decision is could change. It could change until it's actually on HBO Max. Now, of course, their big announcement on May 20th means that it's coming, but things change. Things change all the time. And anybody who took the hard and fast, it's never going to do this or it's definitely going to do this, that's irresponsible.
So at that point, when
Sean,
Umberto comes up,
that's why it's the worst kind of bet to take. Like you should never take never ever take a bet that something is never going to happen.
Never.
You should never do that. No.
So at that point, when Umberto Gonzalez decided to say that, report about that,
that's when
was
really
that at the point where it's like, oh, it's happening, I better catch up.
Which one? What did Umberto? Because listen, Umberto's my boy. I really do. I like him a lot, and he and I talk a good deal and shared a lot of information. So which report?
I think he did a video. I
Well,
think about the
what happened
happening, right?
It was a weekend before,
I think what happened was he caught wind of it happening, but couldn't say it was happening yet. So what he did was he went back to that screening from February and was like, "Oh, hey, there was a screening that we never told you about. Does that mean it's coming?" So that he could run it as an exclusive on Heroic Hollywood.
Oh, that's right.
Not using the real evidence, but still reporting on it. Which the second I saw that and I reverse engineered, I'm like, why did he write it that? Oh, there's something. He's leaving out the inspiration for this piece, and he's using another piece of evidence. So there's something out there that I haven't heard yet.
There was a good amount of people who were covering their tracks and writing a few things to fill in the gaps, as if they knew what was coming, but probably didn't.
Hey guys, look, let me tell y'all something. I live in my mom's basement, and I hear her
Good
coming.
for you, man.
It's time for me to go to bed, and I just want to say, Sean, I'm rooting for you. I'm gonna buy 2 of your books,
Jay.
Guys,
you said 3, and now it's 2. What's going on now?
Okay, I get.
No, you already committed. That's 4.
Hold on. I want to just say to Jay how much I love the fact that you put me on early, and gave me a platform to speak, and I love it. Dave also did as well too. Chris did as well too. Scott did too. I can't thank you guys enough. Jay, you're an amazing dude. I love you, man.
I'm a small fish among this big sharks right here.
No, man, not at all.
Oh, but you're a loud voice. We love
you, brother.
It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys, Dave. Thank you for always inviting me. Cobra,
no problem,
Chris, thank you. Scott, thank you so much. But I want y'all to do this. I want to see if y'all really watch my videos, if the people in the chat really watch my videos. What do you say when you want Fatal J to leave your live stream?
You want Fatal J to leave your live stream?
What do you say? If you watch the end of my video, I always say this. What did you say? Okay, I even make it easy on you.
Ninja vanish? Ninja vanish?
Like are you talking about okay, obviously like in Ninja Turtles when they were like Ninja Vanish, they have
Ninja vanish without face.
There you go.
That was great.
I knew I was like Ninja
and like that.
And like that, he's gone.
It's solid.
Okay,
He's
so
fun.
I did have a question for Sean going back to the book, because this is something that has always intrigued me, because when we talked back in February and you had your book and you talked earlier with Dave about how you're having to go back and kind of change the voice of the book from might it happen to, okay, it's happening. And how do we get there? I'm curious, did the structure of the book change? Like, are you, and this is something you may or may not be able to say, are you lining it out basically chronologically, and or were you doing some back and forth, and has that changed in this revision?
So I took a week of vacation in the end of June, and I'm really going to address that. But I think right now it's going chronologically. But what has changed has been the opening chapters and the final chapters. But then also sprinkled through, I will have stronger quotes from Zack that will cement how people felt about certain things throughout the way. Because the journey doesn't change. There's still major things that we touch on, which would be Zack starting the DCEU with Man of Steel, transitioning to BVS. I talk a little bit about what Marvel was trying to build on the other side and how I think DC and Warner Brothers were comparing themselves at the time to what they were trying to chase a little bit. We get into the set visit to Justice League. We get into Henry Cavill and the mustache. We get into Autumn. We get into Joss being hired and why. None of that really changes. I still try to maintain that as the history of it. And even still talking about what the movement accomplished, that doesn't change because I want to focus on how important it was that the movement accomplished all of these things to both keep awareness for the cut really high, raise charitable funds throughout. I talk a lot about the relationships that are formed through people in the movement and how it sort of empowered them to keep fighting. So I was really thankful that all of that sort of internal stuff didn't have to change too much, that it was all still pretty relevant to how we got to this point. Because if I'm telling the story about how we got to May 20th and why May 20th matters, then that story is still the same. It's still, you still want to talk about Project Comic-Con. You still want to talk about the Times Square billboards. You still want to talk about the nerd queens being in the line outside Hall H and passing out I Heart ZS t-shirts. Like, and to explain why that matters. You want to talk about Charlie renting the plane that flies over Burbank. And you want to talk about how much Zack did on Vero to point people in that direction, to leave the trail of breadcrumbs to get people to that thing. So thankfully, in stepping back and looking at it, even though we crossed a finish line, I could still document each step of the marathon, and all that stuff didn't really have to change too drastically.
And I'm sure you are very thankful for that, as a matter of fact, in doing this.
God, so much. But again, I would rip the book apart and redo it, to have this ending because it's. Yeah. I said this to Dave before you guys got on.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard it, but it was if you're writing a book about the Snyder Cut and you don't have Zack Snyder, it feels incomplete. Yeah. But also, I decided really early on that the book has to work if we never get the Snyder Cut. If there's no release, the book has to end. And that's why the ending, when I reached out to the people on the Twitter account, which was to send me messages to Zack. If you had a chance to speak to Zack or to get a message to Zack, on the off chance that he's going to pick up this book one day and read it, what would you say to him? And I got over 160 messages from fans that gave me the most passionate and heartfelt and sentimental and just moving messages. So they're all at the end of the book. And they're going to stay at the end of the book. I'm not getting rid of them because they're amazing. And reading through them was incredibly touching. And I can't cut any of them. And so I'll still work around, the conclusion and Zack delivering it. But it's going to end with the messages from all the fans, because the messages from the fans, first, it proves off how global the movement is, and just how it's swept up so many people who have been moved by his films. And it's just, if you read through them, it's so touching to see how incredibly, the incredible connection that he has with his fan base. I never realized it beforehand. And I don't think I have a connection with any director at all close to that. So,
and it's weird because that didn't really happen until after. I mean, it happened between BVS and Justice League a little bit because of Vero, but I mean, there's a bunch of, like, all the people that I know that are Snyder fans on Twitter that I've been friends with since like after Man of Steel, who everyone found each other because they were all defending the movie, basically.
Yeah.
That was all just like them being friends at the time. And then after BVS or during Justice League production, there was Vero, and people I think started following it just because Zack was on it and he was posting there more than Twitter. But then his interactions with fans got more and more over time. He started following fans, and the back and forth that you'd get. And then also there was like the daily Easter egg hunt. It was almost like a Ready Player One kind of situation for a lot of the time.
That's awesome.
And so it was really cool not to just be a part of that, but to see it develop from. He was always friendly with. I've seen him do interviews on small channels all the time for his other movies, but nothing like he has like on Vero with everybody.
And there is no other director that does this. Like, have you?
No.
Is there nothing out this level?
Not like this.
Wow.
No. I mean,
And that's a
really
huge
amazing.
reason why I wanted to dive into the movement, is because it amazed me how much Zack encouraged it at every level. You know, I think there's the point in the book where I point out the fact that only he had the power at any given time to turn around to all you guys and just say, guys, whatever you're looking for, it's not here. You know?
He could have easily just like squashed it.
Well, and at the same time, he definitely supported it and I think pushed for it in his own ways. I think it's I always thought it was a very important distinction to make, partly because that's what he wanted, but also because of the way that he conducted himself. Like, look at the way Chris Terrio is fighting for his cut now, for example. I don't know. There's other directors that have been vocal about kind of getting their cut out about stuff before. Not that he
Chris
wasn't.
Terrio, David Ayer.
He means David Ayer.
Did I say Chris Terrio?
You said Chris Terrio.
Yeah, you're talking about Ayer.
I'm talking about David Ayer.
They sound alike. I get it.
Thank you for catching it. I'll do that all the time. Where I'll watch a video of myself.
Colbert doesn't know jack shit.
He does.
I've just got a scorecard, a bingo card, and I'm just naming random people on it. And
Release the Schumacher cut. Anyways,
but I think Zack wanted the narrative, if not the reality, to be that the fans did it. It's almost his gift to fans was for them to be the ones that did a lot of the heavy lifting. Because like, look at he was posting all these images to Vero. He could have put them on Twitter to get more traction. He's got entire scenes he could have dropped to be like, look, that's done. Like I made that scene. That's totally like not in the movie. You know, he could have actually mounted a campaign and maybe gotten it. I mean, it would have been like possibly career suicide, but also knowing how much he did and how drastically it was changed, it's pretty obvious once you start digging into it how dirty they did him with the stuff that got pulled out of there. And he didn't, like, he could have gone nuclear and made things happen, gotten people fired, like made things happen on a faster timeline. But he didn't. He just kind of fed the fans, and the fans demanded it until HBO Max is like, this is a logical thing to do.
Well, it almost becomes like a real lot. I mean, you know, the Ready Player One comparison, but let's tie it into something that even Zack has played into. It's almost like we're all the knights on the quest for the Holy Grail, and that we went scouring throughout the countryside to eventually find the Grail, as he's like, because you think about that story, Arthur's the one sitting back in Camelot with the knights going off and kind of searching on their own.
Well, that's why someone asked him once something. He said, "Ask Percival," and everyone who's Percival, and I was like,
"That's weird, Percival."
I know, but okay.
But I want to point out something too that I brought up to Steven too, which is just that's a very dangerous game that Zack played, because you can only string the fan base along long enough before it makes it feel like you can't deliver on it, you know, and ultimately you're stringing them along, and I don't think he knew 100% whether he was going to be able to deliver on it.
And it broke some people along the way. I mean, some of us stayed the whole time, but kind of
some
a conversation
just, like, left.
Some people left. I mean, we talked about, you know, our listener base that dropped off, but it was like just along the way, people just went, "No, I'm done.
Sure,
I'm tired."
And it was like, I mean, like you said, it was a risk, and I was always worried about that too. I was like, you know, when does it get to a point where like the real hardcore fans just like all of a sudden just turn against him? Like, hey, he's not coming out. And I was always worried about that, but thankfully, you know,
because he dropped teases and made it feel like he wanted everybody to keep fighting, but sooner or later it's going to tire everybody out. You can only fight for so long in a battle that's never going to reach an end.
Well, and I question the official narrative on that for a variety of reasons. Some because of stuff that we don't know, but also some stuff we do know about, like when things started to develop, and like the notion that this all kicked off on November 18th with a call from Emmerich is bogus. I mean, maybe Emmerich called it, but like it was in the work. But he wasn't dropping these images, just being like, oh, just for the heck of it, like. There was more to it, and I'm not gonna like blow up his spot or anything. If that's what he says, then that's what I'll report. But on a stream like this, I'll say I suspect that he maybe had a little bit more of a plan than he will say. It's just not it's not really necessarily appropriate for him to come out and be like, oh, I was scheming the whole time. Not that the whole thing was even scheming, but but he wants the narrative to be that the fans did it, which they did to a large extent. But I think that there's a lot more that he did that will never be a part of the narrative, and that's the way he wants it.
I will say one thing.
Exclusive.
The book will have what Zack's original plan was supposed to be.
Oh, pre-ordered. Nah, I pre-ordered already.
All right. Let me look. Okay, a minute and 40 in. I'm gonna have to that one right there.
The book will have what Zack's plan was originally.
Okay, that's good. That's one of the things I wanted to ask you was how long did you talk to Zack Snyder? Like,
I think we did 30 minutes. I think we did 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
All.
Wow. I was going to be like, oh, was it like an hour and a half, 2 hours?
30 minutes.
Wow.
And honestly, I'm thankful for every minute that I got.
Oh, I'm sure.
But what I'll tell you is too, I'm trying to think of the things that we went through. I'm trying to think of the structure that we went through. But there was a moment in the middle of it where, and this is something that I've always found out when you're doing any kind of interview. If the person you're interviewing starts to swear, then you have broken through the barrier.
Yeah.
That they are no longer giving you the press notes that they're approved to give you. They're now talking from the heart. And it was 10 minutes into it when I got Zack to start swearing. And then I was like, now I got you. Now I got you. Now I got you.
I can imagine that. I mean, like I'm even like that too when I have people on here, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch my mouth because I'm a potty mouth. Everybody knows this. And then once I hear them do the first like F-bomb or even if it's an S-bomb, I'm like, okay, cool. There we go. Now it's like it's a relaxed conversation.
Yep.
That's the way I always try to keep it on here, because I'm like, hey, have a drink, let's relax, let's just have a conversation. And the first F-bomb just shows up, I'm like, there we go. Now we're good. So I totally understand what you're saying right there. And if Zack,
I'm honestly for you guys, I'm trying to think of what question it was. Hold on. I might be able to dig back through and figure out.
The question. I think it was the question. What did you say to Jeff Johns?
One of the things that Snyder's been.
He said, "What do you call Jeff Johns when he's not looking?"
Going back to what you were saying, Steven. I mean, like he and what we've been saying right here is like he's been playing it. I mean, he didn't want to string people along, but at the same time, he didn't want to just like call people out. I mean, look at Ayer. Ayer's kind of taking a different approach. I mean, he already name dropped. At one point. So, but Snyder was always, he always kind of,
he's not someone who, at least publicly, will, like, he plays nice. Like, his success comes from.
He's not a combative.
He's good at making friends.
Yeah.
And name one person who has anything bad to say about him. Who is like, I'm sure people like there are people that have bad things to say about him, but it makes them look bad because it's like the people that messed up his movies, right?
Jessica Chastain.
And so if you've got someone like who's that, he preserved that image, right? He did not become the David Ayer, like cussing them out or name dropping who messed it up. He allowed it to happen in a way that kept his hands clean, but also got his movie out. And now he didn't burn any bridges, but also got all the gold.
I can tell you guys the questions that I asked, and I'm honestly, seriously, I'm only telling you guys because you guys are legitimate all-stars. You're all-stars of the Snyder Cut movement.
Here we go.
We talked about his reaction to the notion that this is a victory for toxic fandom, and he elaborated very strongly on that. I asked him a question that I always wanted the answer to, and I hope you guys would like the answer to this too, and I got it, and it's in the book.
Nice.
The question was essentially, when he walked away in May of 2017 and handed the baton to Joss, that if that version of the movie had worked and had been moderately successful, to the point where fans were essentially like, okay, it's not Zack's vision, but it's still entertaining. You know, it's passable. It's a Justice League movie, and they moved on. Was he actually prepared at that moment to walk away from the DCEU? And I don't think he was ready for that question. And his answer is very, very candid.
Wow.
Very, very candid.
Damn.
And the last question that we dove into, hold on,
Goosebumps. I got goosebumps. I don't know about
I'm feeling them right now.
Man,
Get that pre-order link on Amazon today.
You said these were pre-screened though.
These are pre-screened questions. Oh,
who pre-screened them then? If he wasn't ready for that one,
Or
can you say that?
Wait, no, I think he was. I think he was ready for the question. I'm sorry. I think he was ready for the question. I don't think he was necessarily, honestly, listening to him answer it. I don't think he was necessarily ready for how candid he got with it, because that was around the time where he started to swear, and I started to realize, like, he's legitimately answering this. And Steve, you know this. You've spoken to enough people where you kind of realize, like, they're giving you the answer that they're supposed to give you versus you're hitting them with a question and they're suddenly giving you the answer that they legitimately want to give you.
Well, and that's what someone said. Who was on Twitter? We were both in that same thread on Twitter earlier, where someone was like, "What's your favorite Snyder ISM or something?"
Yeah,
and that's he gives both answers. He'll give the PR answer, and then it's when he says, "All right, look, here's the thing." After he says, "Here's the thing," that's when you get the answer that you answer.
And the last one is I picked his brain about Vero, and I picked his brain about his use of Vero, and how he kind of admitted that it wasn't an intentional way to tease his cut initially. But how he kind of realized how important it was as a tool to keep people's awareness of the cut going. And he really opened up a lot about what he decided to share, on that, and when he decided to share it and why, kind of thing. And I thought all those answers were really, really fascinating.
Damn.
Wow.
Nice.
I am excited.
You just sold 100 more copies, right? Jesus Christ.
That mic.
I'm honestly, it's only because I respect all of you guys.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I need a cigarette after that one.
Oh, is it quoted with the F bombs or just?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you got the F bombs in there? I love
course.
Oh no!
Yes,
Fantastic.
raw stuff.
Did you write it like from a first person? Like, did you write it as like walking through your experience, or did you write it as like a documentary kind of third person?
Walking through my experience, I wrote it from the first person.
Nice.
I like that better.
Yes.
I think that's a better way to write like this whole thing, seeing it from the eyes of you, as opposed to just doing that third person thing, like, oh, and then this happened, and blah, blah, blah. No, you're actually. I think it makes it more personal. I think the fact that you're writing it like that, I like that a whole lot better.
And in fact, I asked a friend of mine to sort of proofread through it, and some of his feedback came back, and he was like, "This is a little bit too casual." But I kind of dismissed those comments. that's great. I wanted that feedback, but that's kind of the approach that I was trying to do, and that I wanted to write it from the perspective of somebody who was
there's so much
in the movement.
That's one of the things that that's why I like being on this show and taking over everybody's talking time. Thanks,
what you do. What are you talking about?
I've written so much about it, but the way that I have to write about it is so not necessarily sterile, but it's
objective.
Yeah, like I can't write about it from we don't write like our style guide is not like we don't do first person writing at Screenrant. Like it's going to have to be very objective, and it's going to have to be things are going to be sourced. I can't talk about rumor or get into things as much. I have to stick to like what are the facts, what is the context.
Sure.
And so for you to be able to get into it and approach it from like there's enough out there that's structured that way,
also, I got a lot of shit early on for being a Marvel fan who didn't adore everything Zack did from the get-go. And I'm going to, ultimately argue that helps the storytelling in this book, that level of detachment allowed me to sort of step back and see what was going on in the broader spectrum of things.
It's going to help. It's going to help your validity in the book, because you're not going to come off as just another fanboy writing about fanboys that you wholeheartedly agree with the whole time. Yeah. It's going to make the book more
authentic.
Real balanced.
Well, it's
balance. Yes.
This is one of the things that I get a lot of shit for, but I'm obviously a Zack fan and very supportive of the cut, but when it became kind of clear very early on that it was going to be something that there was going to be a lot to write about and that I was going to be doing a lot of that writing, I had to make it's hard to draw a clean separation, and it maybe seems pedantic to a lot of people, but I always thought it was very important for myself to keep a clear distinction between me being a part of the movement versus me just writing about the stuff, because and people would even be like, "Oh, don't trust him. He's not a true believer or whatever." Where it's like, well, no, that's the
part timer.
Or I said it outright. I was like, I'm not a part of the movement. I don't write about this because I'm a part of the movement and I'm obligated to carry the torch via my byline at Screen Rant. I write about it because I have information about it that I can determine what is factual and what is not factual and get it out there because nobody else is doing it. Not nobody else, but very few other people are doing it. But of course, then nobody necessarily knows what that means. And so I go, someone even just said in the chat earlier, they're like, Steven's not even a part of the movement. It's like, well, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, that's kind of the point. Like, I'm not a fanboy writing about this. I am a fan, but I was not writing about it as a fanboy.
Well, Steven, even with us, that was the tack that Tim wanted to take. Because it was really interesting when I looked back and saw that I didn't even tweet the hashtag for the first time until May of 2018, because it was Tim who said, that's not where we want to go with the show. Yeah. So we had to be careful what we did on our individual Twitter handles, because it was still going to reflect the show itself, and so there had to be that line. It really wasn't until like the VFX reels started to come out that we were basically, as a show, we were able to go, no, there's enough now. We can just jump first into this.
Yeah. I mean, I've even discussed this too. Is like, after Justice League came out, and I realized that, all like the 6 or 7, 8 months before, when all the drama, like all these blogs were talking about like the drama that was happening behind the scenes, like, and I was trying to debunk it. And I, you just realize like, oh man, I was doing like all my videos as a fan. I need to be a little bit more responsive to the information that's out there, ask questions and everything. And so
true. Well, I think we both fell into that approach. We both very much wrote as a fan about all these reshoots these reshoots are bogus. Everything has reshoots. It's normal. Like they're not de-Snydering it. Like all that stuff. Hard.
I fell more into the fandom movement. I think I became kind of part of it. I think.
No,
for a little bit. At the start, I wasn't. At the start, I was like, just, oh, they're saying about this, they're saying about that.
Yeah.
I think it exists. I think it exists. Well, I really want it now. You know, I want it now. It sounds great. I think I want that now, and I'm pushing this other movie away. But then it's, you know, once you start hashtagging, you start being involved. I think a lot of the people in the movement start to take notice. Says, hey, can you promote this? Can you involve this? And sooner or later, just get stuck in it. And you just be a part of it. But I gotta say, I do like it when people outside the bubble take notice, and I think that's the most important part. We can't just be talking in our own bubble and saying, hey, that person is not part of us. Well, let's let them be a part. Let's let them talk about it. Why
we
are
can't
we
be an echo chamber?
No,
can't be an echo chamber, and we can't shun people away from talking about it, whether it's being objective or, you know, about it or not. We can't silence them.
The way it was always, what was always necessary to make it happen was that that people just needed to keep talking about it, and that meant that people needed to write about it. Fans needed to talk about it. But like the conversation on a larger level couldn't just be secluded to this fan bubble, and that was something that I had some conflict with people earlier on, where like there's such an understandably, there's such an anti-blogger sentiment amongst fans because of a long history of kind of being at odds when it comes to Zack Snyder. And so after the cut came out, people were like going head to head with like bloggers for not. Initially, it was like, how dare you review this movie badly, and then it was, how dare you not want the better version of this movie. And I remember telling people, like, these are, like, you want to be friends with these people, like you want them to care about your story. There was a lot of people who signed the petition, who were like journalists, who I know who like aren't necessarily Snyder fans that signed it, but then very quickly it was like, I don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. I don't want to, like, it was you couldn't like reach your hand into that fan bubble without it getting like bitten, which is why it's so impressive that Sean was able to kind of pull that off. Because so many other people would be like, let me talk about this, and people are like, you didn't talk about it exactly right. How dare you? And they're like, okay, fine, I won't talk about it anymore. But that was always very necessary to get it to happen.
Well, and that's why, Sean, it's like we said, it needed to be you. It didn't need to be any of
us.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't have been. I mean, imagine if I wrote about here's what the Snyder Cut fandom is like. How like
listen to me. Yeah,
it would be rejected by a bunch of people, and then it would be a problem.
You guys also don't understand how amusing it is to me still to this day that I'm the person writing the DC book about the Justice League, because I am such a Marvel kid. Like that's just, it's so.
I love your shirt, by the way.
I mean, you're wearing a fantastic
choice, and I appreciate it.
And then over your shoulder, you got posters of Infinity War and
Endgame. Yes,
that's two of the greatest films of all time.
The part about this is the fact that you are such a Marvel fan that has taken on this, and you're looking at it at this outside perspective. I mean, like I said, it couldn't have been one of us who was like balls deep in this fucking thing for 2.5.
But at the same time, I am a fan of these films. You know, if I came in with a bias against them, it would show and it would color whatever I was trying to report. Like, I really do ultimately just love superhero films in general. I love comic book adaptations, and I love the way different people bring their different perspectives to it. I'm a huge fan of Birds of Prey. I don't mind Shazam as much as people seem to. I love what James Wan did with Aquaman. Like, I don't hate the DCEU by any stretch, but if I were to immerse myself into a universe, if you had asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have told you that it would have been something MCU related. But the story of the Snyder Cut was just so fascinating to me on every level that I wanted to tell it. And I think in a happy accident kind of way, the way we've been talking about happy accidents along the way, I honestly do believe, without giving myself too much credit, because I really, really don't want to do that, I think that I ended up being at the right place at the right time.
It does feel like that, and part of me wants you to grab that guitar right behind you and just sing a song about it.
Should I do that? I'm gonna play a little.
I don't know. I don't know how much wine is.
How many more glasses of wine before
Will Johnny be good?
Like, I know it's late. I know it's late over there for you.
Oh, it's late. It's very late. Yes, one of my
Fine.
kids is up. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
mean, feel free if you need to duck out anytime, let me know. It's fine.
I'll punch out soon.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. But yeah, I saw that. I kept eyeing that guitar, and I was like, does he play?
I'm actually a drummer, which is weird.
So am I.
Are you really?
really?
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, I
What's the band?
played guitar in bands forever and sang for a little while, but lately I've been playing drums in bands, and I enjoy that more.
Yeah, drums was always the instrument I went towards. I just like beating the shit out of something, and then learning the coordination. Always fun. I mean, guitar, I learned a little bit. I had an acoustic guitar and I tried to teach myself, but I just don't understand how you can. It's just the coordination with fingers. It's not the same as coordination with your whole body. I don't know, just to me at least. But
It's different.
it
100%.
is. Different. Anyways,
to rewind just a minute to when Sean was
let's
talking
get back.
I was gonna say I thought it was funny because as like watching that happen, because like you said, we had met on the set visit. We didn't really talk about this guy. We didn't know there was like a shared interest there, and so it was funny then when you came out on Twitter or wherever it was that you announced that you were going to do the book.
Mhm.
I don't want to say I rolled my eyes because that sounds mean, but I had a
You're
reaction.
snarky, Steven. It's okay.
I had but it clearly it doesn't always translate. I had a reaction of like, oh, this will be interesting to see like how long until he's like run out of like. I'll be honest. I searched some of your old tweets to be like, oh, what are they going to throw at him? Like, which ones are they going to bring up? And I think
The dreaded old tweets.
I think,
the dreaded old tweets.
what did I saw? I can't remember what it was. I mean, you had a good tweet history. I approve, but it was there was I think the only thing people brought up was just
approval stamp, right?
your criticisms of Man of Steel. But I remember I saw that and I was like,
Sure.
oh, let's see how long it takes before he's like, fuck this, I'm not writing this book. You guys
Yeah. Of course.
And
And
then
I
you
respect
stuck
you, by the way,
with
for
it.
doubling down during the live stream because I saw those tweets going, good. He's standing his ground. He has problems and he's going to say it.
It would be so easy
yeah.
for many other people to be like Snyder fan number one. Not that you're not a Snyder fan, but like to just be like, oh yeah, I renounce all my criticisms of that. But like you've maintained a sense of professionalism while also endearing yourself to the fans, and that's a needle that like I haven't threaded that. The needle's here.
And don't even ask me how I did it because I have no idea. I mean, I only know how to do this one way, essentially, which is just to hold true to what my opinions are.
Mm-hmm.
And truthfully, it's funny, like when you're in this long enough and when you get to be, listen, I'm 46, like I've been doing this over 20 years. After a while, you just don't give a fuck, like it's like you're going to believe what you're going to believe and you're going to support what you're going to support. And if you're not behind me, cool, fine. That's fine. You're never going to convince 100% of the people all the way. And it's foolish to chase that. So
we're also in a very a very heavily opinionated area where your history of your opinions and your predictions and your everything you've said is very, very well documented.
Sure.
And so you've been doing it a little longer than I have, but I'd say that I learned that hard lesson when Justice League came out. And for me, that was, I need to really pump the brakes before I stick my neck out there to make predictions and learn, like, I need to wait until I've like triple confirmed. Don't dismiss something just because I don't like it. All that sort of stuff. And because you do take a lot more attention to, like, that if you say something about a movie or whatever, it's not unrealistic for people to remember that 5 years later, 10 years later, like, oh, well, you said whatever. And so you're just naturally more careful about, like, if you're good at your job, at least you're more careful about being authentic, because people will know if you're not, if you were to come out and be like, oh, I'm a huge, if you were like, I'm a huge Man of Steel fan, people would have gone back in your tweets and been like, nope.
Right. But also, and I think this is really important, and it's really important specifically with Zack's films too. And it's going to sound kiss up, but it's not. People evolve, and people connect with material at different times later that they didn't connect initially with. And I've said this 100 times about Zack's approach to Man of Steel. It's not what I was expecting. It's not what I thought I was going to get. Chris, you love the Reeves films. It's not that. It's not. And I know I went into Man of Steel looking for a more direct connection to the Donner films, and it doesn't give it to you. And so you have to almost evolve beyond, like, okay, he wasn't giving me this. Why? Why didn't he give me this? And what is he giving me? You know? So it almost...
Well, and that's the sort of the brilliance of Zack also, is he knows what you want.
Right.
And he will withhold it until...
He's
He will
very
either intentionally withhold it, or he will withhold it until like you least expect it, because he's got that grasp of like. Whereas especially with these movies, the temptation is always to just give the fans what they want, or to give them something totally unrelated to what they wanted.
Sure.
And Man of Steel both kind of like has all those ties, but also is like you crave this, but I'm going to deny it to you because that like has an impact on the story.
Sure.
It really does.
Well, it's also like with BVS where a Frank Miller fanboy like me is just drinking up all the Dark Knight Returns homages, but yet he then turns it on his head and goes, no, Batman's the bad guy. Which is totally not what Dark Knight Returns was doing.
Right. Sure.
Turn it on its head. But hide your kids, hide your wives. Mr. John Garza.
Oh my God! Look at this.
Oh shit! Hey, first off,
he's drunk.
First off, let me just go ahead and say no. I wish I was. Can y'all hear me fine? Because I just realized my mic's not plugged in.
You're a little echoey.
Oops.
That's probably a problem.
So anyway,
no. Wait.
Wait. Let me just
Come on, Garza. You're pulling the brake on the train, for God's sake.
Oh, First off, y'all talked about the Man of Steel, and remember, I'm the one that hit Sean with that fucking question.
Yeah, you did. Oh my God! Right off the bat.
Yeah.
Oh, he attacked me. Attack.
That's what I heard. The Garza attack.
How did I do, Garza?
It's funny that you guys.
Garza's a salesman, so he knows to find the biggest objection and go after that first.
Absolutely. And it's crazy though. I will say this. Is it better now, Mike wise?
Yeah.
This is as good as it's gonna get.
Whatever.
It's good.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it. So yes, Sean, you did a fantastic job, by the way, answering that, because you know what? You not only did you give me the reason, you had enough backing to where I went, okay, fair enough, man. I can't. Other than you just going, I just don't like it. Okay, well, but something I was talking about with Chris earlier, and it just blew his mind. I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because Steven will probably tell me I'm wrong or something. I don't really give a shit. So, so we were talking about how the Nightmare could potentially be the Flashpoint version of what Zack is trying to go with, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that kind of I was thinking about, and we all started thinking about, well, Joker's in the Batcave with Deathstroke, right, and the Nightmare scene and all that, and then all of a sudden we all just kind of put two together and went, wait, what if it wasn't Jared Leto's Joker? What if it was Lauren Callan or whatever her last name is, Joker? Because remember, let's just assume that this is the Flashpoint version of Zack's Nightmare version. I mean,
oh, I see what you're saying.
There could be, you know what I mean? Like, instead of having Jared Leto's Joker in there, why wouldn't it be just a different version of it? Does that make sense?
Like the Martha version of him?
Lauren Cohen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And instead of having, remember, it wouldn't be Batman in the Batcave this time because he died. Technically, it'd be a different timeline.
Right.
So it actually would be Thomas Wayne.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Which
is why
they'd be both in the in the cave. You know what I mean?
It's too late. Too much wine to think about this.
That seems
I know.
ambitious.
Check this out.
Yeah,
That seems
I know it
ambitious.
does. So
My question would be, how do you connect that back? Like, because the nightmare, despite seeming so disparate from everything else, was still central, like thematically, to the rest of the story that was going on. And so I love that idea, but the question is, how do you then make that thematically and plot relevant once again to the Cavill, Affleck, Batman, Superman timeline?
if there's anything that Zack can do, he could fucking make it relevant. Let's put it that way. Okay. And I say that in respect to BVS, because BVS is my favorite film. And we wouldn't have gotten BVS if the execs told him, hey, we need to figure out a way to kind of get it going for our Justice League. Like, we wouldn't have gotten BVS. We would have got a Man of Steel 2.
Think so?
So I don't know how, but I have a feeling that, I don't have a feeling. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If Warner Brothers would have never, ever stepped in and told Zack, hey, we need to get to this Justice League thing, because look what Marvel just did in 2012.
Well,
we need to figure out a way to do that. And they talked to him before Man of Steel got released. I mean, it's not like Man of Steel got released and then they're working on trying to get to Justice League.
Because I think Zack's perspective on the Justice League is that they are important players in Superman's story. So he's saying you can't tell Superman's story without showing how he inspired these other characters. And that's why it's okay to not have 3 Batman movies, 3 Cavill movie, or 3 Superman movies that are building up to the first Justice League, because the whole point is that Superman brings them into his
What do we know about the nightmare sequence in his Justice League?
What were you gonna say, Sean?
What do we know about the nightmare sequence in Snyder's Justice League? We know that he is going to have one, but do we know anything about the details of the context?
No, I don't think we do.
Well, there's a little bit, but also there's the ever-present question of how much does he get to revert to his original plan?
Okay,
because that changes. Because the big thing that changes is the nightmare is significantly altered depending on which version of this, like how close he can get back to that original Terrio script.
Right, because Steven, I think I've tried to explain this to other people before, is you've got to think about how many, like, do you label them like basically scripts 1, 2, 3, and 4? Like, are there really 4 versions we're talking about out there?
It depends on what you define as a version. I outlined it as 6 recently, but that includes 2 different timed cuts of the same version of the script.
Yeah.
But you have the OG Terrio script that was written before BVS. And then you have the Snyder Terrio rewrite that was done after BVS.
2.
And then you have, and it's hard to even call this one script because it's on-set rewrites with John's.
3.
Which is 3, but you have multiple different cuts of that because you have different takes that they use, etc. So you have, of that 3, you have the 2:14 cut, and you have the 2-hour 20-minute cut that he screened for execs. So so you're calling that 3. And then you have the Whedon cut, which once again, I'm sure there's 20 different versions of the Whedon cut. And then you have Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is 5, but is 5-1 or is 5-2? Like, is 5 a subset of one of those other ones, or is it an amalgamation, or is it its own thing?
Oh,
and this is the rabbit hole you go down when you try to talk about this, about what are we getting with Zack Snyder's Justice League in 2021.
I'm gonna point out one quick thing, and then I'm gonna punch out.
Okay. Yeah, you're looking a little sleepy there, Sean.
Because I love you guys.
Yeah.
Ninja vanish.
One thing that I pointed out to Zack is that he's a different person today than he was 3 years ago.
That's
and
very
how much of that is going to impact his approach to this material now. And how much of that is going to change how he would approach. Like, he's not the guy who made this movie back in 2017 anymore. And he's getting a second chance. Right? A second chance. And I don't think we are giving enough
Sean,
attention.
You got to remember too, also with Army of the Dead.
Right.
I mean, I was going to let you say, I was just going to say, like, with Army of the Dead, he even said it. The chains were lifted off. He got to do that entire movie by himself.
Yeah, free range.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know, actually, that question, Sean, when you said on Fatal J Show, remember how we thought about JL2 as a foregone conclusion? Like he's going to try to. Do you still feel that now that there is no chance there's a JL2 after?
Oh, I won't say that there's no chance at all. Not at all. I mean, I think if he is truly inspired by the material, if he really has ideas of where he wants to go with it, and if HBO Max wants to do it, of course. I just wouldn't want to automatically connect him to that 5-film arc that he was once committed to, because I think in a certain sense, once that was ripped away from him at the time, Carson.
Always mute. Come on, Sean's saying to mute it. Okay, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Once that was taken away from him at the time, it's almost like pushing the boulder back up the hill, right, Chris? It's like trying to refine the passion for that story that you wanted to tell. And can he recapture that passion? Can he? This is a little bit where I get into he's a different person than he was when he was immersed in that story, right? And that he now has other films that he wants to tell, other stories he would like to get involved in. However, maybe now, by getting back into these stories and fashioning this version of the Justice League that he wants to put together, it rekindles the passion that he felt for those characters. However, not to even take a deeper step back, Ezra has got himself into a little bit of trouble.
A little bit.
Ben is not the Batman that he was going to be anymore. Henry seems to be angling for something different. They're not where they were in 2017. They're not. As people, as actors, as people with professional contracts, there's a lot of things that have to be figured out that people don't take into consideration. People automatically just assume like Zack can come back and he can finish his no. Like
also the Snyder Cut was paid for and they're paying more, but even so, they're not paying 250 million. They're paying 40, 50, 60 million, whatever they're doing. Justice League 2, there's no down payment. They're starting from scratch. I mean, they've got maybe some storyboards and a treatment, but they don't have a script. They don't have they didn't spend money on production that they can benefit from now.
But if you told Zack, if HBO Max turned around to Zack and said, you can approach it like season 2 of Westworld, or, an HBO season, essentially, would he want to explore that? Who knows?
Or maybe bring in other directors for different episodes, lighten his load a little bit.
For sure.
Let Ben direct them.
The whole idea.
I think anything is possible at this point moving forward.
Anything definitely is possible. Sean, if you want to go ahead and duck out, man.
Wait, Chris has a question. Then I'll jump. I'll jump.
Okay, Chris first, and then we'll do it.
This is a tease. You don't even have to say. Is there a?
Oh, don't say that.
Is that even discussed in your book about?
No.
Oh, the future? Yeah.
No. That is specifically, there were 2 topics that he would not discuss with me because I had to get all these questions pre-approved. The first topic was
Jeff Johns.
The first topic was whether or not this was closure for him. Whether this is a one and done. I'm just going to finish my Justice League vision and I'm going to deliver it, and that will be it. Or whether he plans to continue, because that's absolutely a topic that I wanted to discuss with him. And the second topic that he would not discuss was Jeff Johns, and that's where I will. That is where I will.
Right, Garza, right there. There you go.
Dave,
you heard it here first.
Dave.
Hey, Sean, I appreciate it. Go ahead and plug yourself, sir.
Oh, I'm writing a book. It's called Release the Snyder.
Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
It's called Release the Snyder Cut. You can follow it on Twitter at rtscbook.com. You can also follow me at Sean_O'Connell. Please read Cinema Blend on a daily basis. I'm trying to keep you guys up to date on everything that's happening in the world of entertainment. And if you follow me at my Twitter feeds or at the RTSC book Twitter feed as well too, I will keep up to date on everything that's going on. So July 30th is my due date for the manuscript. The book is due out in 2021. We are going to time it to the release of Zack's Justice League on HBO Max. I hope to come out potentially right before it. But I mean, again, if he tells me that it's going to come out in like November or December, maybe we'll come out earlier. Like I would like to maybe come out in the summertime. But if he comes out in the summertime, we will team up right with it. And I hope to be a companion piece for it. I am going to legitimately, I've been saying this. Chris, thank you very much for the invitation. Scott, thank you for the invitation. I will circle back around to each of you guys in due time, but it's time for me to disappear for a little while. The vodka stream I figured was going to be my farewell for the Snyder Cut movement for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I need to go finish this book.
Yeah.
Yes.
And learn a few more things. But we have some. Let me just tease. We have some. There are quotes and stories from Zack. I can't believe I can say that I don't believe anybody has ever heard. And one of the beautiful things that they said to me after the fact was that he is not doing press. He agreed to speak to me just for the book. And I'm prepared for a few things that he told me to come out in other places as they ramp up for the release of the Snyder Cut. But I'm fairly confident that I asked him a couple of really important things that you will only be able to read in the book. And so I thank you guys. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support that I received from the movement and from everybody that I see on screen right here. I love you guys. You guys
pretty
are
awesome. Well, we love you too. And we'll talk to you soon. I know you're gonna go radio silent for a bit, but hopefully in a few months, you could show back on here, have a couple of drinks, and just have another relaxed conversation. But thank you, Sean. Thank you for coming on here. Cheers, sir.
Peace out.
We'll talk to you later.
Hey, yeah, bye.
Okay. Well, that was good. Thank you, Sean O'Connell, for coming on to the Vodka stream for the second time and talking about all that.
By the way, I was going to say, I love how he was like nonchalant about how no other director has been really close with his fans. That motherfucker has Tarantino in his phone book, okay? Get the fuck out of here. Right?
Tarantino called him.
Get the fuck out of here.
I saw that in the chat.
I was like, dude, what are you talking about? This, I mean, get the fuck out.
Does Tarantino like your pictures on Vero?
Yeah,
exactly. Does Tarantino like
Tarantino on the Vodka stream?
Dude, first off, Zack liked the fan-made image that I made last night. And I'm like, dude, he's just stoking the fires over nothing. Like, it's something I made.
Garzon.
And he's fucking liking it. Yeah. I'm like, what are the chances, dude?
I thought he introduced a really interesting topic at the end there. Of course, right before he dips out, because I had 10 questions about it. Was the idea
called a tease, Stephen?
Yeah, exactly. Well, also it's called like avoiding Stephen extending this for another 20 minutes.
Just 20?
But well, I imagine eventually he'd cut it off. Is the idea of whether or not him approaching it today is going to impact the story, because he's not the same person he was today, and because of everything that he's gone through and everyone has gone through, whether or not that's going to impact the story, which is a fascinating question about Zack the artist, because you look at like the Fountainhead has such a core meta textual kind of commentary on this whole situation to Zack himself also, that he's embraced the kind of Fountainhead story.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, like, does he put a like inherent value on giving us the story as intended, or because he's the one that says he doesn't react to or tries not to like react to fans, or to criticism or whatever. He makes his movies. He doesn't try to make the movies he thinks people want. But as an artist, if he's changed, does he want to give us that snapshot of a movie that he had made at that point in time? or if his perspective has changed, would he prefer for it to be updated? Because it's a weird. If it was an old movie, like 300, for example, if you're to do a director's cut, would he alter that for his sensibilities today, or would he stick to his original vision? And I don't think there's a clear answer, but I think it is, especially for Zack Snyder of all people, a fascinating question.
Limitations of what he has available to. I mean, just using what he has.
Well, he's also getting tens of millions of dollars to make changes too. So we're assuming some level of being capable. He's doing ADR, so he's changing some things to some extent in reshoots or additional photography.
We'll go back to that.
I would say this. Yeah, I would say this, and I don't mean it in any kind of comparison. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that, when I was doing video edits and video anything in 2017 compared to what I was doing now, the things that I've learned, it's exponential. And if I could go back and do some of the things that I wanted to do back in 2017 that I can't even remember. So some of the ideas that I was like, oh, you know what, that'd be cool to do. I didn't have the skill set to do that. Not saying Zack doesn't, but Zack just spent a whole fucking movie on his own DP, his own fucking, everything that you could probably imagine with Army of the Dead. I can only imagine the things that are probably happening in his mind. Like, I don't need to, as great as Fabian Wagner is, he's probably like, hey, I might be able to get away with something where I don't have to hire all these other extra crew members. I could just literally do something real quick if I needed to. Because that's the thing. Okay, he's gonna bring back Harry Lennox, also bringing back Fabian Wagner to shoot it. How does that work? How does all that work? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like he's confident. I feel like he went through that entire film for Army of the Dead, knowing that he knows how to do a DP now.
Oh,
does he really need Fabian Wagner?
He's gonna be the DP of the reshoot.
Yeah, because it's all him. You know what I mean?
I mean, from what
he already did that.
Minimal. It's going to be a minimal additional shoot. So I think, of course he can handle it. So
yeah. Well, I think he did that to an extent before. I would need to check the credits, but I'm pretty sure he's credited as a camera operator for some of the other ones, because that's what he would, especially in additional photography. And that's what Lennox said, is he expected. Yeah. Even though he wasn't in the script anymore, he expected Zack to call him during post-production to be like, hey, stop by the lot for 5 minutes. I'm going to shoot you in front of a green screen, and then you can get out of here. And then add that in. Yeah. Or, whatever amount of time it would have taken. So, yeah.
Well, to fix visual effects, it takes like a couple of days, right?
Yeah. Well, if you're really good at Photoshop.
I thought he was going to bring in Cavill and just like be in front of a green screen, and they're going to overlay him on Joss Whedon footage. Well, that's what I heard.
Well, and going back to your analogy that you're making to the Fountainhead, Stephen, I mean, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole of making Howard Rourke into Snyder, I mean, you also got to remember, spoilers for a book that's 50-something years old, but Rourke even destroys his own creation to stop it from being tampered with.
I've seen some good theories that people say that that's why he left, was him destroying it, because he knew what would happen out of his hands once he stopped fighting. He was like, either a tampered version of my movie is going to come out, or I'm going to let them destroy my movie.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, reading if you haven't actually read The Fountainhead, it reads like this.
I've only clips.
Yeah, not the old the one with Gary Cooper. But
1940s.
Reading the book, it almost reads like a strange documentary of what happened. It was free because I was reading The Fountainhead for the first time during the 2.5-year period. And
you picked it up because of the Justice League stuff, or was that just circumstantial?
No, I already owned it because remember on the first Vodka.
Remember his bookcase the first time he came on this thing? I mean,
but did you decide to finally open it up because?
No, I decided to finally open it up after Justice League, not knowing what the plot really was. I just knew it was about an architect. But then while reading it with the glasses of the Justice League situation, going, holy You know, like here's
Parallel
like,
for like crazy. Yeah.
it definitely colored my perspective reading the book, because I had these glasses on going, oh, this is weird how it kind of syncs up if you want it to.
How far back did Zack Snyder talk about the Fountainhead? Was it after Justice League or?
It was after Justice League, because once again,
Yeah,
that continued to be my impetus for, okay, let's let me crack this one open finally.
There are Fountainhead Easter eggs in Justice League too.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
So weird.
It is crazy.
Which means that he was thinking about it during that process, which is why I mentioned this earlier today. I was like, you know, Zack could have, the way Zack, his mindset was, he already knew that this was a compromised version. And if he shoots the same way that he knows he's going to shoot for the studio and he's going to shoot for himself, he might have already thought, you know what, I'm going to shoot it this way. Like, for instance, that talks to fish line. Zack could have shot it a certain way to where he was shooting over the shoulder, or, you know, the scene that we see in the trailer. That's the studio version, right? And he shoots it again without that line of dialogue, but just over the shoulder of Aquaman, putting Bruce up, right? Where he knows that he could have added ADR later on in the shoot. You know what I mean? So also, I'm thinking that Zack probably did that.
Maybe. Well, I think there's a couple points there that's interesting, because that is very true. In addition to that, he tends to prefer his first take. Or they'll do multiple takes, but he commonly uses the first one because it's the most natural. Even if it's not like the most clean,
right,
it's the most authentic, maybe. Yeah. And so there's that, and then there's also the nature of on-set reshoots typically means that they're just doing a bunch of shit. And so there might be 5. Maybe he says, "Here, you talk to fish." We know that we don't know when it got added, but we know that he also says, "Can you tell me the way to Atlantis?" Mm-hmm. We know, you know, a bunch of different stuff like that. So it's possible that, you know, they did an Anchorman style and just had him say a bunch of fish jokes, and then just chose the ones he liked the most. And so I don't.
Well, I mean, what's funny about that when Bruce says, like, "I hear you talk to fish," it works for the trailer, but I can't see it working in the context of that scene.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's a suspension killer.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's exactly what a Whedon moment would be in an Avengers movie.
Right. Well, and I think,
like, as weird as it sounds, that's what it looks like.
That's exactly what it is. And I think that an important point for Zack's movies also is, like I said a minute ago with Harry Lennox, that he's like, Zack gets everything he wants in these movies. And so obviously he's doing a lot of ADR now, but the blue suit has always been a great example, that he shot the whole thing with a blue suit, planning on hopefully making it a black suit. And so he'll shot
it in a way where they can easily convert it.
So as he like compromises with execs along the way, he's placating them, but also he's got stuff in the works that can make it more like anyway. And that's why you have like Sucker Punch. He's got a director's cut he'd like to finish up, or he's got
release the Sucker Punch.
Yeah,
Snyder Punch. Is what Justin says.
Snyder Punch.
Yeah. The Snyder Punch. There it is.
Like the ADR. What is he record? Is it like I hear talk to fish, but it's like the mouth is moving for another dialogue.
Well, hey, by the way, you can a really way you fix that. Have you ever watched the documentary that came with Blade Runner: The Final Cut? Okay, there is a scene in Blade Runner where Deckard walks into the pet shop to question the owner. Yeah. And it's famous that in every version of Blade Runner besides the Final Cut, the dialogue Harrison Ford is saying does not match up with his lips, because they recorded the dialogue one way. They did ADR to change the lines, because that was Blade Runner was a movie they got famously fucked with.
Oh yeah.
But part of what Ridley Scott did with going back 25 years later to the Final Cut, they got Harrison Ford's son to say the lines. They filmed him and then digitally put Harrison Ford's son's mouth on Harrison Ford in
I
the
did
movie.
not know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Because they also got Joanna Cassidy to come back and reshoot a scene because the stripper replicant is so obviously a stunt woman in the theatrical version. They digitally put her. They shot her running through the glass so you could actually see it was Joanna Cassidy, and they were able to de-age her a little bit. She still looked great, but no, there is a scene where in the final cut they basically filmed Harrison Ford's son from this point down and just replaced his mouth.
I did not know about that.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, and there's also stuff. I mean, like what George Lucas did with like the prequels is, I think, because people criticize that stuff all the time, but also like have no clue. Like the stuff that people only know 10% of the stuff that he did, which is crazy. It's the obvious stuff that people hate on, but it's the amount of like the scenes that he created that the actors don't even remember filming. That's like the real testament to like just how drastically he changed that stuff. But also now, go ahead.
No, I give him props for doing the Jabba scene, Jabba the Hutt, and because originally that was just a fat dude, so he, like walking around him. I mean, they literally had to have Han Solo step on his tail and like lift up. So that was good, but I hate the fucking Guido scene when his head kind of goes like this.
Yeah,
I hate that. It's like his head twitches because no, Han didn't shoot first. I'm like, fuck you, come on.
That didn't need to be there.
I don't like that because you see his head just like do like a fucking Night of the Roxbury thing, and it's like it's really strange, and I don't like it.
Right. Well, also now you've got stuff like this. I don't know if you can hear this.
Oh yeah, you were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, where like.
No, I can't hear it. We can't hear it.
Well, check it out on my Twitter. It's
oh crap! Did I just remove? Oh, there he is. Sorry.
I'm
like, get out of here, Garza. Sorry.
AI is good enough now that you can like digitally fix that kind of stuff. Where it'll fix their mouth, and it's funny because I don't know if they're going to go that route or not. I have no idea. I just thought of that kind of off on a whim because of it's talking about ADR, and if he does a significant amount of ADR, that's going to be the problem is matching the mouths up. And I thought, that would be hilarious if he like leaned into that technology so that a significant amount of the dialogue is replaced and everybody's got CGI mouths, yet it still looks better than Henry Cavill. And I think he would get immense pleasure in flexing.
That would be an ultimate middle finger.
Well, that's the technology. Is that technology that wasn't in 2017? And now it's really I don't know.
It's the thing. They had the technology. Like people have mustaches removed in movies more than you'd realize.
Yeah.
They just did a really bad job.
It still boggles my mind. I mean, I think even like Sean has said that. I think he said it on the first time he was here, and we discussed that the first time he came on the Vodka stream. But I noticed like he said that on other. I think he even said that on maybe yours, Garza too. Was like the fact that somebody actually approved that, somebody approved that first scene,
Well, then they leaned into it. Like, how do you, like, you say that the version that he screened for executives was like unwatchable, and like, we can't show people that one; it'll be a travesty. Yeah. And then they're like, what we should do instead is open it on Bizarro's man's face. Yeah.
Well, and I still feel like, those comments have never made sense to me. The only time I've attempted to contextualize those comments at all is when we read the Hollywood Reporter article, when we realized that you had the 2:14 version that he was trying to cut down to 2 hours and 20 minutes. And when I'm thinking about that annoying, unwatchable comment, it's like, think about what we think about BVS now that we've seen the Ultimate Edition, and we think about what the movie looks like or feels like with that 30 minutes missing. Because I saw BVS 3 times in theaters and loved it. And I remember hearing the complaints, and I'm like, I don't get it. I love this movie. It all makes sense. But I still remember staying up to midnight for when my Vudu account, I could watch the Ultimate Edition. And I remember watching it, and the pacing and the edits and the order the scenes are in. And I sat there going, oh, I get the complaints now.
Yeah,
Because seeing
Well,
it cut like this
Well,
makes
yeah.
so much more
Jeremy
sense.
Johns.
Yeah.
Jeremy Johns
It,
reaction to it. I mean, he just did a review of
Yeah.
it. He even mentioned he's all when I saw it in theaters, I didn't want to see it again. It was a mess. It was totally a mess. And, I wish I would have saw it again because I actually like this movie now. I mean, just like John Schnepp after he went and saw the Ultimate Edition. I mean, it's amazing how much that half hour just filled in all these gaps for people, and it made everything flesh out.
Well, it added to the film, and it felt shorter than the theatrical. I remember that first experience. I was watching it, and I was like, why the fuck does this feel quicker than the theatrical cut? And it's because it's so choppy compared to that version.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
you think about it. I mean,
as listeners of my podcast, BVS by the minute, may be aware.
There you go.
Those first 20 minutes are like, I never realized this until we took it by the minute, but we talked about this a lot in those first 20 minutes, is that each individual minute is basically its own vignette. In those first 20 minutes, like every single minute ends on a gunshot, an explosion, like something happens that transitions into like to the second. Like we're not just talking like vaguely. It is like a Swiss watch, the way that movie clips along in those first 20 minutes. And as Dice and I were recording those episodes, a number of times I accidentally would pull up the theatrical cut to watch, because I've like the way that I've got them in my account, they're like right next to each other, and it just wouldn't. The pacing was not lining up that way. I'd be like, what? Something feels like it's missing here. And I'd go back and I'd pull up the Ultimate Edition, and then boom, there we go. It ends right on the minute. Like it continues that clipped pace. And it's crazy.
Wow.
It is crazy. And what people need to realize too is like, I mean, it sucks because I mean, from what I heard, I mean, Zack, like if you wanted to get Zack Snyder's Batman vs Superman, there's probably an additional 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, the scene that was described as Superman looking for his mom goes up into the sky, tries to listen, but all he hears is all, that the havoc and the struggles and everything that Gotham City's having. And, they cut that out because it's too dark. I still want to goddamn see that scene. I bet that would be. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was talking to Garza on the other show, and he brought it out a good point how that could be broken down to like episodic.
Yeah,
like every hour there's something big and something happens. Like before the Batman v Superman fights, like Superman drops down at some certain hour. That could have been a cliffhanger. Boom, directed by Zack Snyder.
Like when Batman is chasing all those dudes, and all of a sudden he sees Superman, and like the Batmobile just like ricochets off him. That could be like a cliffhanger right there. That could be like an end of an episode right there, and it's like, oh fuck, what's gonna happen?
I have the first episode. I have it ended. I have it ending right when. So you see Superman basically going. Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. Bat's dead, and you hear Batman when he says it, right?
Yeah.
And then it cuts. As soon as he's like, "You will," and he's looking up, it cuts.
Oh yeah, that could be.
And I did it because to start off the next episode is Batman going to his Batcave, and he's like pissed because that's a good second part. And then I have it end. That second episode ends right when Superman lands. And then if you really think about it, so you have those two episodes. If BVS was literally released like it could have been like that, you would have had that third episode where not only do we see the greatest fight of Batman and Superman actually fighting and getting to it. So keep in mind, it's almost a month long of weekly episodes. You have the best BVS fight, the warehouse fight, and then you have Doomsday added into that. I mean, that's just so fucking much for a third episode that you get why people are like, oh, it just had too much. It's there, but
and that's where it gets.
It was done nicely.
Yeah, that's where the notion of and the question of if it's released as a series, how will it be edited as a series or just kind of cut up? Because like you said with that third act, like if that was a series, they would split each of those up into its own episodes. You would have Batman v Superman ending after the Martha moment, and then you would have the warehouse fight would be a whole another episode, and you would add more dialogue in there, and you would have more Alfred and Batman on the way to the warehouse, and you would have more Lex scheming in between, maybe communing with the like. There's all sorts of filler in there that you could do to flesh that out, but that would be 40 minutes from the Martha moment to him rescuing Martha, and then that final act would be another episode unto itself.
And I would also say, if no one's checked it out, check out that director's cut of Dr. Sleep. I still need to
watch that.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But it's one continuous 3-hour movie broken into 5 chapters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Like I enjoyed the theatrical version of that movie. I still need to watch
the theatrical version.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
how many hours difference is the director's
30
cut?
minutes.
30 minutes. Another 30 minutes.
And here's the thing, though. And I've always said this because I remember I watched the Dr. Sleep director's cut as a Mike Flanagan fan and as a Stephen King fan.
Yeah.
While the Ultimate Edition feels like a different movie for BVS, you don't get that experience with like the Dr. Sleep director's cut. It just has moments that are more fleshed out, or moments that were in the book.
I could totally see that, because like I said, I really enjoyed the theatrical version of that movie. Like, I thought it was actually done very well, and I'm disappointed that it didn't get like the recognition that it did. Like, I walked out, even my friends were like, that was a fucking good movie. That was, I mean, it didn't need like scares like all the time, but it had enough. It had enough, nostalgia, if you want to call it that, with the Shining and whatchamacallit, obviously in that final act. But I mean, just to flesh out Ewan McGregor's character and just to try to like realize like what he's struggling with, like the opening and him struggling with alcoholism and then trying to clean himself up and then running into this little girl who can also do the whole Shining thing herself. I mean, I thought it was actually really well done theatrically, the theatrical version, but yeah, I still need to watch that extended version just to see it play out like that.
And it comes up and says chapter 1.
Yes.
And the chapter has a title, and it's taken from the book. Like, he took chapter names from the book. And so if you just imagine that the movie it's cut together as a movie, it's meant to be viewed as a movie, but yet it is structured in a way that can still be divided into segments. And all you do is go,
yeah.
Well,
I mean, what we read in that the Hollywood Reporter article, I mean, Swenson brought this to my attention, was like that after the screening, he was talking about, dividing it up with cliffhangers and episodically. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, if you have this 4-hour plus movie, you have all this footage that you can, turn into something. I mean, I love the fact that even O'Connell, when I asked him that, I'm like, how would you feel about it being broken up into chapters? And he was all about it as well, just like all of us are.
Yeah.
Well,
and also business-wise, I mean, it's there. That's it. I mean,
yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind that AT&T and Warner Brothers were like, you know what, we'll probably get more subscriptions if it's released as a movie. Fuck no. To have somebody talking about it for 6 weeks, where every time they have to talk about the Snyder Cut or Justice League or whatever it is, they have to mention HBO Max. You can't just say Zack Snyder Justice League, because you have to mention where it's at. It's not like it was released in theaters. No, you have to go on HBO Max as an exclusive. So to have something being talked about for 6 weeks.
Yeah, we've said that many times. It's like every week you're talking about it. We could talk about that episode. Steven said that many times too. It's like it just works that way.
Well, and then look at all the other streamers. Look at the difference between what happens when one of these streamers drops a movie versus when they drop a series. Specifically, the streamers that make the decision to drop series on a weekly basis, and how the movies come and go. Like, they talk about them for the first weekend that they've been dropped, and then you never hear it because you've moved on to the next thing.
Yeah, agree.
I will say this though. I read a quote from Nicholas Winding Refn, and he made a very good point to why that probably some things don't need to work out that way. And he said it because when things came out weekly, it was because it was on an episodic base, and it was on a television series that you had to plot out a time frame. Mm-hmm. We don't watch movies like that, or we don't watch series like that anymore. We can literally binge watch it. We can go, I want to watch the entire thing. I don't want to wait a week. And so there's certain aspects where I think that would work. Or definitely for his, for Too Old to Die, none of y'all have seen that. Believe me, you need to take that in chunks because holy shit, it is a fucked up series. But when I was breaking up BVS, if I had this first episode that right now, and that was what I had for a week, I would be fucking fed because you're talking about not only do you have the nightmare sequence, you have Batman chase, and you have the opening
in the first episode.
In the first episode, that's all in there. Like you'd be like, dude, why I'm fucking great right now in order to see what the fuck is going to happen because you get to see that Lex is there, but you don't really know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. You get to see Batman and Superman basically going at each other, but not really. It's like a fucking tease. It's like literally, pardon my French, it's a cock tease of what is going to happen. And so imagine you seeing Batman and Superman kind of come back to, they're about to be there.
You just said it's like a fucking tease. Pardon my French.
Pardon my French.
I know.
Yeah. Pardon my
but, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. But the second episode gets into all of that of why they're even doing what they're doing, and then it ends with, all right, there is no going back. They're about to fucking fight, and it stops. Yeah. You know what I mean? So imagine you watching that 2 weeks in, and you're going, "Holy shit, I need to see this. I can't wait. Like, who's gonna win?"
Well, and imagine the discussions that take place in that week too. Just imagine if that was Game of Thrones and that was like Arya and the Night King or something, and that's where they ended it.
Yeah.
But then you add to that the fact that like it's a Zack Snyder like DC movie, and like people already can't stop talking about that, and it's 4 years old, or like people still talk about Superman snapping Zod's neck. That's 7 years old, right? Almost in 24
Sunday,
hours.
Dave. On Sunday,
and people still bring that up by the day. Imagine if that was happening on a weekly basis.
Oh my gosh.
And in an economy that functions off of
Streaming
attention,
controversy.
They monetize attention, right?
Yes.
And so, and people, and it's not just that people like talking about it, it's that people can't stop talking about it. And that's the way that they sold Joker, right? Joker came out, and there was other stuff going on with that also, obviously.
And
but
they
Joker
leaned
came
into
out,
that. Yeah.
And they were like, come see the movie that people can't stop talking about. And so now imagine that's a TV show.
Just think about Joker. Like there was police officers that were getting informed, hey, things could be happening at a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane to think of now.
Well, and I also heard though that Warner Brothers played into a number of those things, and that's one of the things they played into where they're like, you know what? Fine. Let's have a police presence because that played up like this is an event movie. This is I have to be able to tell my kids the story about going to see Joker when we were sure we would have gotten shot, but we did it anyway.
Well, and then like how they had photographers on the red carpet, but no reporters. No one was going to get to ask questions. You could take your pictures. It was such a weird. Because you had the film festivals where everyone lost their mind. Then, as you had the more general press get involved, that's when the controversy stirred up. And then they did those things like they acted like they had balls, which kind of made the rest of us just kind of go, "Well, hot damn." What's
well after going through it was 6 years of like watching a controversial movie come out and having Warner Brothers be like, "Whoa, we don't know, like here's some tweets from fans that liked it." Instead they were like is a commercial. I'm like, here's the bad reviews for our movie. Like, come see it. Like,
That was perfect marketing. It really was. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
Just lean in.
So imagine what AT&T would do when all of a sudden they announce the cut and they're interacting with fans. Imagine the interaction they're going to do if they release it weekly. Like, dude, they'll be teasing the shit out of the next episode. Yeah. Period.
Exactly. Like, oh my God, Bruce talks to Barry. What's going to happen? Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do with all that, but it.
I mean, I just feel like Steven brought up a good point. Like, imagine one episode, and I talked about this earlier today. One episode dedicated to the history lesson, 35 minutes, 45 minutes of just the history lesson.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but not only that, but you've got all these moments that like let's look at BVS as an example here, and in that first, let's say it's a 40-minute episode, so that takes you up through right after like the first introduction of Lex, and right around 42 or so, I think, is the like the Superman.
That's right. That's right. No, that's like it's like 47 minutes.
47 minutes.
48 minutes.
You're upping me at my own game here.
I know, it's okay.
And but so already in that moment, how many Superman shouldn't do that conversations have you started already, right? And there's like the rumors of like, oh, did you've got the Capitol Hill stuff to an extent already, like, oh, they're investigating Superman for did he kill those people? And so then that's going to be a discussion of like, would people believe that it's absurd that people would believe that, or like, well, of course Superman killed people, it's the murderverse. Like, you've got all these different angles coming at it, and it's every episode has its own version, maybe not to the extent, but every episode has its own Zod snap neck moment. That people are just going to talk about. And remember Watchmen, the blue dildo episode of Watchmen.
Absolutely.
It's like that amount of like people can't stop talking about it. It's like Superman killed somebody or something.
Well, when you think about that whole Nairobi thing, and if that would have been broken up, that would have been like, if the episode you would have had right now, well, the one I have, that still also happened in this fucking one episode. Like, people are going, why would they think that Superman, killed those people? Because he didn't. And you're like, well, think about it. Do you know, if you had never seen Superman in person, ever use his heat vision, tell me, how do you know he didn't fucking do it? Give me that reason in the movie. Don't go, oh, well, I know Superman because it's in the comics, all that. Like, no, stop right there. Tell me, how do you know that Superman couldn't have burned these people with his heat vision? Because he leveled a full fucking building in half. We don't know if it was Zod. We don't know if it was Superman. Somebody did it, and it was a Kryptonian. And these people are now, he shows up there like, and I loved what y'all said in the BVS Minute, to plug it again, of how simple and delicate Swanwick says it. A reporter went somewhere where she shouldn't for a scoop. Superman acted like some rogue combatant to rescue her, and people died. I mean, that's all people know. So unless you're going to sit there and go, oh, I know Superman's power set, which nobody does, you can't sit there and go, well, no, he didn't kill those people. Like, we know he didn't kill them, but think about it in the movie.
But then imagine
that
also
goes
on
back
top
to the
of
point that you made, that always gets bringing up, is when they talk about the power set that Superman has, it's like, but he hasn't used those powers in these movies yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I know.
Cold
breath.
And then, but also you take into account the fact that like you're cutting the theatrical version based on what they finished. But if Zack's able to engineer it with that intent from the beginning, he can go back to that 5-hour assembly cut. He can add flashbacks from cut footage from Man of Steel and from BVS.
Yeah.
He's going to get some additional photography in there. So, like, for example, if you were to go back to like the assembly cut of BVS and tie in other stuff, you could turn that for like Nairobi should be that first episode, right? So you end it after the end of Nairobi. But the thing is, the theatrical or the ultimate cut even doesn't have enough footage to make that a full episode. But I bet there's enough footage to do that with. But not only that, but you're also going to edit it differently.
You can't tell me that he's not going to do that, man.
Like, you're not going to start off. you're not going to start off with the Wayne death. You're probably going to start off with Lois arriving.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I started it off because the way I did it was I opened it with the flashback of Man of Steel. So I opened it with that, and then after you see him looking up, it cuts, and then I have it go into the credits because essentially, imagine it being like Westworld, right? I mean, if you're watching the episode or the season opener for the first time, you need action first, and then you go into credits.
Right. Or
and that's how it would.
BVS open. BVS has Martha or not Martha. BVS starts with the Wayne murder, and then the Black Zero, and then the discovery of kryptonite, and then Nairobi. That's not TV friendly. TV, you start with Nairobi, and then maybe you do, or maybe you could start with Black Zero. But then
you would start with Black Zero if that's how you were going to go with it.
Or honestly, I would start with Nairobi. I would do the Black Zero as a flashback for Batman, but I wouldn't. I would cut it. I would chop it up into bits, and then I would do the same thing with the Wayne murders. And
but you need credits.
Yeah,
that's a tough thing.
But because in a TV show you can't have that. You can't have that same chunk in the first hour, because then people are like, what is this even about? No, the plot of the first episode has to be Nairobi for 40 minutes. And then maybe when you introduce Bruce, that's when you get the flashback to the Wayne murders. And then when Superman's on trial / also the Black Zero is from Bruce's perspective. So maybe when he's saying he brought the war to us, then you get that. Like that, it's just different editing. And so I'm very curious. Like, I believe we're getting both. We're getting a movie and a show. I'm curious, is the movie going to be the show stitched together, or are we talking about two totally different editing experiences? I would love the latter, but I know that's a lot more work.
Be cut as episodes. I mean, like how you said, I think that would, because you have to make it flow. Like Garth said, he has to make it like an episode. We have to have cliffhangers and
maybe, and, you look at like Tarantino. I haven't seen the Hateful Eight extended edition, but and Tarantino naturally has those chapters. That's just the structure of his movies.
And some movies actually have the chapters in them, like Kill Bill or Pulp Fiction. It's already there.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think it'd be really cool to structure it as a show like that. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. It could also just be a movie released in chunks. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, again, the BVS, I chopped it up. I mean, it ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going, dude, Superman just told Batman, basically, pack up, get the fuck out of here. And what does that mean? Because you're going, well, I thought they're supposed to fight. How come they didn't fight? All Superman did was threaten him. And Batman's sitting there fucking, his heart is beating at a fucking million times. Like, oh yeah, do you bleed? Like, dude. What the fuck's in that? Like, how do you go from there?
You can even
appreciate how much adrenaline is running through Batman's veins at that moment.
Yeah.
Just like so.
Technically, it was a fight. Just
well, that's what I'm saying, though. So you're going, wait, is that the fight? That's Batman v Superman? Like, dude, no, that's not it. Because right after that, you see Batman go to his fucking Batcave. He's looking at where all the kryptonite is, and all of a sudden he's got a mission on. I need to go find that I need to figure out a way to get that kryptonite.
Yeah, that's a good way to end that episode right there. I mean, like even like the Capitol building, like when it explodes, you see Superman just, imagine a cliffhanger episode where like everything explodes and you see Superman just going, "Fuck, I fucked up," and then it just ends like that. Starts off with him bringing people out of the Capitol building that he's trying to save, and I mean, there's just the possibilities are endless, and I'm sure Snyder is. I mean, he's a lot smarter. That's for damn sure.
Well, what I was going to say too is, like I mentioned, I would watch my episode that I have. That's an hour and 20 minutes of BVS. No. I'd watch that several times.
Yeah,
I'd watch it several times leading up to the next episode. You know what I mean? And I think I forgot where I heard this, but somebody was like, "Well, how often do people watch series?" Well, I mean, a hardcore fan like I am, I'm going to watch the shit out of it. That's just me.
Of course.
I mean, I've watched Westworld several times. I've watched Game of Thrones.
Still got to watch it.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, guys, I think this is a good way to end this episode. I mean, we're going 3 hours with the stream. I mean, let's for next week if you guys want to come back on, of course. Doors always open. I have to pee like a motherfucker right now. I mean, I'm just saying.
I gotta check my video out that I just finished up.
Yeah, and Mr. Matt Jarbo, who's in the live chat that wanted to join, I'm gonna get you on next week. I'm gonna contact you. Maybe we'll do like something where you're a special guest. And because I saw people going, "Hey, Matt Jarbo wants in," and I'm like, "Yes, I do." But I mean, maybe not these guys right here, but I'm 3 hours in, and I gotta piss like a motherfucker. But I appreciate you guys always coming in as always. So let's go through the lineup here. Go ahead and plug yourself. Scott, plug yourself.
Scott from DC Film Squadcast, which you can find at squadcastmedia.com, on Twitter at DC Film Squadcast, and of course you can find me right where it says at ScottDC27.
Subscribe to this man. I mean, he's got the voice of a podcaster right there. Better than all of our voices, that's for sure. Mr. Chris Wan, go ahead, plug yourself.
Chris Wan from Ping Pong Flick Show. Thanks.
Super quick.
Hey, more time for me, man.
Just like you know who I am.
I'm pretty sure that everybody in the chat already is like subscribed to you and everything like that. We share. That's what we do. Mr. Garza, go ahead and plug yourself.
Man, you can follow me right there at that little hat that you see right there. Or if you wanted to follow me on YouTube, I got some videos coming out. I got a cool thing I'm working on that a lot of people took out of context that I wasn't meaning to.
When I was in the trailer, right? And you're like, no, it's not a trailer.
Yeah, and so like I know a lot of people saw directed by Zack and saw an image. That's something I'm working on personally. It's not now. I'm thinking that Zack is aware of what I'm working on because I told somebody that talks to him that I was doing something not for him, for me, but like I want his opinion. I want his thoughts on it just because I'm curious because I fucking told Steven about this a month and a half ago and I was like, dude, I think it could be done. And he was like, no, it can't. And I was like, dude, just give me some time, man. Just let me work on it and let me see. It take me a while, but believe me, I think I've got it down and I can't wait to show it. So we'll see. Anyways,
thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And,
thank you for having me.
Mr. Colbert, go ahead and plug yourself.
You can follow me at SM Colbert on Twitter. It's in my name at the bottom of my image. And as mentioned multiple times, I co-host BVS by the Minute with Andrew Dice. We've got a few episodes about to drop, and we've got some fun plans for the Nightmare coming up. And we've got a bonus surprise that I can't give a time commitment on, but probably soon. Just because Rodrigo in the comments said it 30 times. I don't know how much it would cost to go back to the OG script, but I would estimate $25 to $30 million.
Oh, you didn't say 40. Damn you.
Well, no, that's on top of the 40.
Okay. There you
go. So somewhere near like 65.
I mean, that number comes from a place.
Yeah. All right, guys. You guys know where to find me, of course. Subscribe to the second channel. Follow me in the Sock Meds, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Shirts down below. All that crazy stuff. Cheers, guys. Here's the last drink, of course. Ooh, just spilling on myself right now. Anyways, cheers, guys.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Let me go ahead and all right. We'll talk to you guys later.